3 o'clock. The Vice Chair of the Lee County Board of Commissioners calls the meeting to order of August 18th, 2008. The Lee County Board of Commissioners meeting is called to order to conduct all business properly presented before the body. First off, the invocation will be given by Mr. Hall and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all please stand.
We bow our head in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you with praise and thanksgiving, acknowledging all the many gifts you have bestowed upon this county. We ask for your continued blessings, your Father, on members of our Board of Commissioners. Guide their deliberations on this occasion so their thoughts, actions, and words may be pleasing and acceptable to you. We ask our Father that you be with Chairman Brown, who's absent today because of the illness of his wife. We ask that you comfort him and his family, and that you give your power of healing to those who minister to her needs, so that she may have a speedy and complete recovery. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'd like to recognize Ms. Lavelle McLean for presenting the August Employee of the Month Award.
Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board, the Employee of the Month Selection Committee has selected Deborah McKay of the Lee County Department of Social Services as Lee County's Employee of the Month for August 2008. Ms. McKay has been employed with Lee County since 1998 and currently serves as an income maintenance caseworker 2 in the department's Medicaid unit. As an income maintenance caseworker, Ms. McKay has earned a reputation as an individual who deals with her clients with patience and understanding and can be counted on to go the extra mile to ensure that their needs are met. Ms. McKay never fails to follow up on requests and has frequently worked through her lunch or stayed late in order to do all she can for her clients. In addition to her commitment to customer service, Ms. McKay is respected by her colleagues as a team player who can be counted on to go beyond her job description to advance the mission of the Social Services Department. As stated in her nomination, Debbie frequently takes on extra work that is not in her job description when there are unexpected absences or increased workloads. Everyone in the office knows that they can call on her if they need help. Her positive attitude and work ethic set a good example for her coworkers and reflect a positive image for Lee County. Ms. McKay and her husband Ronnie have 2 children. Their only grandchild, Petra, is the sunshine of her life. The committee felt that based on the recommendation and her service and commitment to Lee County citizens, she should be awarded Employee of the Month. Therefore, the committee respectfully asks that you join us in awarding Mrs. Deborah McKay Employee of the Month for August 2008 in recognition of her dedication to the citizens of Lee County.
Thank you, Ms. McLean. Congratulations. I know that's some hard work there. We appreciate all the work that you put in and everyone in the department. Would you come forward, please? First off, I'd like to present you with a certificate of being Employee of the Month of 2000 in August 2008. Lee County recognizes Deborah McKay for going above and beyond regular duties to be an outstanding employee, signed by County Manager John Crumpton and Chairman Robert H. Brown. Thank you. Also, we have the Star Award. This is presented along with that certificate for you to have in your office or at home. And a few other little goodies. Since you have some children there at home, grandchildren, whatever, Papa John's will be donating a pizza, a large pizza. Also, the movie gallery, you can go down and pick up a movie for the family to watch, and also a supply of Coca-Cola from the Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Congratulations. And I did forget one little thing. There's a day off with pay. So you can enjoy the movie, the pizza, and the drinks. Okay, moving along with the agenda, is there any commissioner wish to add an item or have any corrections? If so, let me start off with John. Do you have anything?
Yes, sir. I have several items to add to the agenda. The first is we've received a resolution by the Lee County Bar Association in reference to the smoking at the Lee County Courthouse. Need to add that to that item. I also need to add consideration for bids for the replacement of the courthouse chiller. Need to add a budget amendment, if that is approved, to pay for that. We also need to do a budget amendment for a project ordinance for the QSAB funds for the schools. And then we've had a request from the health department to change some pay classifications for the environmental health department. So we need to add that. All in total, we need to add 4 items.
That would be, so far as the resolution would be item D. E would be the chiller. F would be the QSAB. And G would be the environmental health.
Thank you.
Mr. Reeves.
No, sir, just get me out of here as quick as you can.
Kelly. Ms. Shook.
No new items.
Mr. Pascal. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Have a motion.
Will we have a chance to pull things out of the consent agenda if we approve this now?
Just doing additional.
This is just the addition.
Additional, okay.
All those in favor of those additions, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk, let the record show a unanimous vote. Okay. Approval of the consent agenda. Does anyone have any amendments
I
or
would-
request?
I'd like to request that we pull item O. I've just got some extra questions about that. And then I have just a couple of questions about these other things. Can I just ask them without having to pull them from the agenda? They're just yes or no answers, I think. Can I do that?
Sure. You can try.
Okay. On item H, which is a budget amendment, which has to do with the WIC increase, I was just curious, is this extra funding that came from the state government or the federal government? Is this Brenda? Or-
Health Department, it's WIC funding, which is federal.
But it's my understanding that the states decide how much WIC is going to, but this came from the federal government?
Well, it's passed through the state, so the state may have made the final decision.
So that's just a pass-through.
Right.
Yeah, once they get their cut, they don't get what you do.
Well, my next question was actually for Brenda. Brenda, do you have to speak English to be able to apply for WIC? Is that a requirement?
WIC's handling the health department. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's the health department?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does anybody from the health department know the, here?
Ask your health department.
Oh,
The
department.
answer is no.
You don't have to speak English. I know that because I stood in line behind a grocery store. That's a story for another day. Okay. Item I. I'm just curious, when the North Carolina DOT takes property for right-of-way, does that remove that from the taxable base of whosever property it was to begin with?
Yes.
It does, okay. And with item Q, with the Aramark Food Service, did we get other bids on that?
Not this year, no ma'am. We did not take bids. Normally, we take them every 3 years, and this would be the 3rd year, so we'll be taking bids next year.
Okay.
With that said, Ms. Shook, let me comment on that. I did talk to Ms. Davison down at the Richmond Center, and from the last year, she told me that the service had improved dramatically. The changes in the menus have not been like they were, and the person that is in charge of that work there with them, so far as the meals, has improved drastically, and they are very well satisfied with that service.
Which was the item that you wanted to pull? I didn't hear which letter that
Oh,
was.
the foreclosure sale. And one last question, and that was with the hospital increases. With the acronyms, is BLS mean basic?
Basic life support.
And it says the county does not pay directly, so is this something that comes from Medicaid or private insurance, or who?
It's a combination of all the payers. It could be self-pay, Medicare, insurance, Medicaid, any of the
That's
payers.
what I thought was the case. Okay. Well, I got all my questions answered.
Do I hear a motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Be to new business, yes. And it will be item H.
Once you put it with B, that's Dwayne's. Dwayne's gotta talk about B.
Would that be all right with Ms. Shook?
Sure, I just have some questions, things that,
He's gonna-
So we'll just attach it to item B.
okay.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that amendment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now, approval, Ms. Lee. Now, moving to the next item of business, public comments.
Excuse me, before you go to public comment.
Oh, yes, that's right, I forgot the two resolutions. Mr. Reeves, do you want to do the resolution?
Shall. Is Ms. Murchison here?
Yes.
I don't-
Hiding.
Behind the sign. Lee County Board of Commissioners resolution honoring Mrs. Margaret Murchison on 30 years of service to the people in the Lee County area. Whereas Mrs. Margaret Murchison graduated from W. Worker School and I'll let you fill in the blank. And found employment with a local industry, but continued her education by attending Central Carolina Community College and Sand Hills Community College. She graduated from Sand Hills Community College and went to work as a library assistant at Lee County High School. And this employment continued until 1978, when she accepted employment at the radio station WWGP and WFJA as their news and public affairs director. And whereas in that capacity, she has performed with distinction and has attracted a large group of listeners, a host of friends, and recognition by her peers, by her election as president of the North Carolina Associated Press Broadcasters Association for a term. And whereas Mrs. Murchison has been a role model citizen by her participation in local government, by serving on the Lee County Board of Education, the Board of Trustees of the Community College, the Lee County Centennial Committee, and numerous other City of Sanford and Lee County boards and committees. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Lee County, North Carolina as follows, that it congratulates her for 30 years of service in her chosen field and wishes for her continued success, that it applauds her willingness to participate in local government and encourages her fellow citizens to follow her example. Adopted this 18th day of August 2008. Signed by Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Congratulations. There's no pizza, no popcorn, nothing.
I'd like to add a comment here. When I first moved to Lee County 24 years ago, Don Steck was still in charge of Small Business Center, but it was the launch of the Small Business Expo. And he put two go-getters on that committee, and that was Margaret and Judy Marsh. And he assigned me to it, and I was just the people tell me what to do and I'll do it, but they were the idea people. So if you want anything done, assign Margaret to a committee. That's good.
Thank you, Margaret, for the service that you provided the county and the radio audience.
Don't you want to give a speech?
No speeches. I'm in shock.
I caught it off guard.
Mr. Kelly, would you mind reading the resolutions as far as the fall litter sweep?
Sure, this is a proclamation for the fall litter sweep for the North Carolina Department of Transportation. By the Governor of the State of North Carolina proclamation, whereas the North Carolina Department of Transportation organizes an annual fall...
27. Page 27.
Oh, I'm reading
That's
all.
ours.
Okay. Let me get ours.
Read the wrong page.
Whereas the North Carolina Department of Transportation organizes an annual fall statewide roadside cleanup to ensure clean and beautiful roads in North Carolina. And whereas the fall 2008 litter sweep roadside cleanup will take place September 20th through October 4th, 2008, and encourages local governments and communities, civic and professional groups, businesses, churches, schools, families, and individual citizens to participate in the Department of Transportation's cleanup by sponsoring and organizing local roadside cleanups. And whereas Adopt the Highway volunteers, Department of Transportation employees, Department of Correction inmates and community service workers, local government agencies, community leaders, civic and community organizations, businesses, churches, schools, and environmentally concerned citizens conduct annual local cleanups during litter sweep. And whereas the great natural beauty of our state and a clean environment are sources of great pride for all North Carolinians, attracting tourists and aiding in recruiting new industries. And whereas the cleanup will increase awareness of the need for cleaner roadsides, emphasize the importance of not littering, and encouraging recycling of solid waste. And whereas the 2008 fall cleanup will celebrate the 20th anniversary of North Carolina Adopt a Highway program and its 6,000 volunteer groups that donate their labor and time year-round to keep our roadsides clean. And whereas the litter sweep cleanup will be part of educating the children of this great state regarding the importance of a clean environment to the quality of life in North Carolina. Now, therefore, we, the Lee County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim September 20th through October 4th, 2008, as litter sweep time in Lee County, and encourage citizens to take an active role in making their communities cleaner. Adopted this 18th day of August 2008. Robert H. Brown, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Okay. Moving along, public comments, and then we have two to address the board, Mr. Russell Noel and Mr. Noel, and Mr. Rick Hager. Mr. Noel, you have 3 minutes, and Mr. Hoyle will be keeping the time.
Pardon?
Mr. Hoyle will be keeping the time. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. What started out as a simple appeal to the Lee County Tax Administration relative to what I considered an excessive increase in the assessment value of my home in 2007 and the unacceptable treatment I received from the Board of Equalization and Review has caused me to ask myself, why? In my quest for why, I have concluded that the Tax Administration, Board of Equalization and Review, the Board of the County Commissioners, the Board of Education, and county employees whose positions are associated with each of these boards are inordinately filled with individuals who have little regard for the prudent expenditures and disbursement of taxpayer money. Individuals who will stonewall, delay answers to requests for information paid for by Lee County taxpayers and requested by a Lee County taxpayer. I don't understand what these individuals are trying to hide. There is a vast difference, ladies and gentlemen, between a need and a want. Too many wants is what keeps the budget growing, as well as growing taxes levied against already overburdened taxpayers. I again state, those who don't contribute significantly to the revenue base have no right to receive benefits from it. The last time I read my copy of the Constitution of the United States of America and its Bill of Rights, neither one of them endorsed Marxism. And I think most people here know the doctrine of Marxism. As I research more comments and questions will be forthcoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noel, for your comments. I meant Mr. Noel. Noel.
Yes.
You're right, man.
I'm European,
Okay.
but not European American.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Rick Hager.
Thank you, Mr. Devine. Good afternoon, members of the commission. I asked to speak at this portion of your meeting with regard to the proposed county ordinance prohibiting smoking in county-owned buildings. As I think most of you know, this issue was brought before the Lee County Bar Association by means of a letter that Mr. Brown had written to our current president advising us that this board had received a request from District Attorney Susan Doyle to ban smoking in the Lee County Courthouse and asking for our thoughts and comments on that issue. As you have hopefully seen by now, our Bar Association did meet, considered that matter, and unanimously approved the resolution that I trust has been provided to each of you. What I did want to call to your attention was in the process of looking into this issue, and specifically the statute that was cited in the proposed ordinance. It is the considered opinion of the Lee County Bar Association that the legislature did not authorize counties to prohibit smoking in county-owned buildings. They did prohibit or authorize the state to prohibit smoking in state-owned buildings. But their delegation of authorities to the counties was phrased in terms of restricting smoking. And under the current law that was then in effect and still in effect, as we read the law, that does not permit an absolute ban or prohibition of smoking in county-owned properties. In fact, as we understand the law, 20% of the usable space in county-owned buildings has got to be set aside for those that choose to smoke. Now, we didn't come before you as a bar association asking that that be done. But I do think that is the state of the law. And I urge you to give serious consideration to the legality of the ordinance that you have before you. Because I don't think, and I'm not alone, as we have expressed in our resolution unanimously, that can be done. And as you'll note from our resolution, as I understand this issue, it was originally brought before you upon the request of District Attorney Susan Doyle and the 3 members of her staff that were in attendance at this meeting voted in favor of this resolution. So I ask you to consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. Okay. Under old business, oh, wait a minute. That's under old business. Under old business, I'd like the chair recognizing Mr. Mike Bean.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair, other members of the board. First of all, your elected district attorney, Ms. Doyle, sends her regards and her regrets. She is in a previously scheduled murder trial elsewhere in the district. So it falls to me as the supervising assistant DA of this office to come address you about this subject. First of all, as your draft recognizes, I don't think I need to go into the importance and the recognized effects of secondhand smoke. Also, I would bring it to your attention that this has been a problem for our office for a while. We had one former employee who at times could not even use her own office. This was not only before, but during her pregnancy. At this time, we have a current staff member who is pregnant with her second child and has had to leave early on occasion with headaches and has been advised by her doctor that this simply cannot go on. Other members of the office are affected as well and have complained. I would also note for you that remedies have been attempted with no success. Our office has only asked that the smoking be regulated so that our office is not affected. The bar resolution, which was just brought to your attention as late as last week, was again a reflection of our attempt to compromise and work this matter out. However, again, I reiterate, it's our interest that our office not be affected by smoking. And I would say to you, if a ban is the answer, then so be it. As to legal challenges, it would be my assumption that the ordinance that you have before you was drafted on models from other counties. I am not aware of any challenges to those. And as to one particular statute that has been cited for you, I believe it's 143-597, in terms of the 20% of space, there is a provision or a modifier in there that says, unless physically impractical. Thank you for the time to appear before you and to take up this matter of very important health to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Item B, Mr. Crumpton, discussion on the ordinance.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bond. You might want to ask Mr. Hull for his interpretation of the statutes before I get going. And Mr. Hull drafted the ordinance. get his.
I read the health law bulletin issued by Amy Wald, the staff of the School of Government at the University of North Carolina. She said, beginning January the 1st, 2008, a local government also be allowed to prohibit smoking in buildings owned by the local government, buildings leased as lessee, in other words, as landlord by the local government, and areas of buildings leased as lessee, that is, as a tenant, and occupied by the local government. And she gives several examples of that, and then she concludes by saying, after January the 1st, local governments may prohibit smoking altogether, or they may choose to restrict smoking to those buildings to a certain area. They will no longer be required to set aside 20% of the interior space for smoking. The word restrict means you can set limitations. Prohibition is just one of the limitations you can place on it.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I think the county has been under the assumption that we have a policy against smoking in all our buildings. The reason for the ordinance is to actually give us some enforcement capabilities to actually make that come true. We have not had any issues that I know of in other buildings for people not following the policy, but we do have that one section of the courthouse that, since its opening, has been the attorney's break room and or lounge, and has been used for smoking. So, I think at this point we probably need to decide whether we want to ban smoking altogether or see what else we can do.
I see we also have letters here from the Register of Deeds and from the Lee County Clerk of Superior Court, and they're in favor of the ban.
Yeah. Actually, the clerk, when she gives instructions to jurors, or prospective jurors, actually says that there is no smoking in the courthouse. So, and they are allowed breaks to go outside and smoke. So, she actually, for the general public, has been enforcing a smoking ban in the courthouse.
Mr. Hoyle, what liability do we have? Let's say that somebody 3 years down the road, can they sue us for secondhand smoke illnesses if we haven't done something? Think we can.
Mr. Quibble.
Section 6 of the enforcement, the penalty is $25 plus court costs. Is that per occurrence? Or per infraction?
Yes.
And each time is it considered an infraction? Does that go up with multiple infractions?
If you want to amend it, you can provide that.
Who is going to enforce that, Mr. Holt?
Law enforcement officer.
It would have to be the sheriff, unless we ask the city to, we'd have to ask the city for permission to enforce this ordinance in our buildings that are in the city limits. If they allow that enforcement, then it would fall upon the sheriff to enforce the ordinance in the building. And I can tell you, he wasn't real thrilled about that when I spoke to him last week.
Why is that?
Does the city have an ordinance that prohibits smoking in any of their offices?
I think they have policy. I don't think they have an ordinance. In checking with the Association of County Commissioners last week, most of the counties that were at a meeting I was at, or that they could remember, all had policies, not ordinances. So, we haven't heard back from other counties as to whether they've gone to that and passed the ordinance. Most of them did policies years ago, and I don't think anybody's had any issues up to this point.
Do we have any issues in other buildings?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
It's just basically the courthouse with the smokers and the non-smokers that are near the DA.
It's pretty much confined to one area right now.
And I take it all, the impasses that these two groups have come to. They just can't get together on anything before. We've tried ventilation systems and.
Well, we did put and I don't think many people knew about it, but I instructed General Services to put a air handler type unit in the break room. That we had some complaints about it, and we went and checked on the unit, and it's working, but that's not where necessarily all the smoking was going on. There was some going on in the library next door. We did not have those two units connected. So, I instructed them to put it in the break room, and they did. So, but anyway, I'm not sure if it would work or not, or how that would affect it.
So, am I hearing that the attorneys and some of the court staff are using the same break room?
In that part of the courthouse, they do use the same room. In the I guess the attraction is the two private bathrooms that are in the back of that room. I think that provides a sense of privacy from the general public and security, and they probably like that, where they don't have with what's going on in the court cases and that kind of stuff, they can create a little separation there.
Well, I can appreciate the separation, but I'm now trying to get to the heart of where the problem might be. If they're mixing the non-smokers and the smokers in that break room, I can understand how that would be a problem. Let me ask, since we have a member of the bar and our assistant district attorney, are you all at a point where you just can't agree on anything and you're leaving it up to the board, or do you want to address that?
I'd be glad to address what we've tried to do, Mr. Reeves, if you'd like to hear from me.
Sure.
Yes, sir, because I don't want to keep looking at this.
After we met and even after we passed this resolution, because the complaint was coming from the district attorney's office and the staff, and because there are no members of the Bar Association, smokers or otherwise, that want to create any health hazards for the district attorney's office.
Or for the county.
Or for the county.
That's right.
We asked the district attorney, or we were trying to relocate what we call the lawyer's lounge. Because to our knowledge, and I'm not going to name names, the only people that have ever smoked in that building are lawyers, judges, law enforcement officials that congregate in that break room. There's a conference room or a lounge, as we call it, with bathrooms, and there's a law library. And really the only people that go back there are court officials.
Right.
That's adjacent to the DA's office. We've been in that building a number of years, and I don't know where, and that smoking's been going on down there from day one. I can testify to that because I've been there. But apparently it's become a problem.
Right.
And so without questioning why now, we tried to look at an alternative. We went and talked to Mr. Bean, Mr. Whitaker and I did, and talked about the possibility of relocating the lawyer's lounge, because we also have come to understand that they have space needs that are being considered by someone. And so we talked to Ms. Blakely, Mr. Whitaker and I did, to find out about the possibility of relocating what we call the lawyer's lounge. And quite frankly, Mr. Whitaker and I and the other members of the Lee County Bar Association outside of the district attorney's office learned for the first time that there had been some discussions about providing the DA's office with additional space, that there had been an offer made to Ms. Doyle to offer her what's now the custody mediator's office, the SBI agent's office, the pay window, to expand their office, as well as the law library. But that they weren't getting the lawyer's lounge. Well, we were informed that Mr. Beam had been on this committee, and Ms. Blakely, and perhaps the Register of Deeds, and maybe the county manager, I don't know. But none of us were. We don't care where the county wants to give us a space. We do think we need a law library. we do think we need to have a place to sit and wait our cases other than stand out in the hallway.
May I interrupt?
Yeah.
Do you have to smoke in the law library?
No, we don't have to smoke, but nobody,
No, I'm just saying, I'm just asking about the law library right now.
no, we don't have to smoke. And in fact, I don't think there's been a whole lot of that has gone up. Because most of the time, the lawyers, when they sit around and chat about cases or whatever, are sitting out at a conference table in the lounge area. And that door is often kept closed. But I don't think that's a problem at all. In fact, as I think Mr. Crumpton, my understanding, Mr. Whitaker offered to finance out of his own pocket some efforts to try and alleviate the concerns that are being expressed by the DA's office. Now, I can't speak for every single member of the bar standing here before you, but you have seen a unanimous resolution, and that was a well-attended meeting, as Mr. Crumpton and Mr. Hoyle can attest to, because they were there. And it was unanimous. And what I'm telling you, based on my own personal knowledge, as well as that action, I've never heard another lawyer outside the DA's office complain about it. I've heard no judge complain about it. I've certainly not heard the sheriff or any law enforcement agents that go back in there and complain about it, or any that don't. So I think it's exclusively an issue, as far as I can tell, that is one that concerns the DA's office because of their proximity to that space. And we were fully prepared, and I mean, it's not our call, but we'd be more than happy to go somewhere else. I just understand from Ms. Blakely there really ain't anywhere else for us to go. We had actually made a suggestion of where we might go, but and there were good reasons in her mind as to why that would not work, and I don't disagree with her. Sadly, I'm afraid we've probably are fast reaching the point where the courthouse that was hopefully going to last us 25 years may not make it. The DA's office, when that building was open, occupied one side of the hallway. If this space that I'm understanding they've asked for and have been offered is approved, they will have every bit of space from one side of that building all the way to the hallway in front of what's now Judge Love's office and the Superior Court Judge's office. That's a huge area. That is a huge area. Seems to me that, and I realize there's some interior walls there, but that there ought to be ample space for them to, they got a hallway going through the middle of their office now because they consumed 2 conference rooms on the other side of what was originally the hallway. But there's a lot of room in there, as I'm sure you know. May have to tear some walls down, but that's going to be a huge area. They now also got, as I understand, the court reporter's office. So I don't really know why they need to keep coming back into the law library and into the lawyer's lounge when they're going in an opposite direction, but that's not for me. That's just my 2 cents on that. But I really don't think it's an issue outside the DA's concerns. And we would like to resolve it with them, but we can't control where you folks put the lawyer's lounge and law library in that courthouse. We're willing to move if you want us to. All we'd ask for you to do is give us some space. And I think if you get us away from the DA's office, or we can make some other arrangements, you're not going to hear from anybody, just like it happened for the first 15 years that building's been open. Thank you.
So essentially, the lounge is for lawyers to go in, say like between the 2 different courts there, if they're running, in which they do all the time.
Yeah.
For them to either to sit there and find out what they've got coming up, or they can get called right out of one right into another one. Is that right? And they only have a matter of minutes, or
It's basically a place where the trial lawyers that do criminal defense
Right,
work and civil
right.
work congregate when they're on a break, or if they're waiting their turn for their case to be called.
right?
And frequently we'll sit back there and talk about other cases or the case we're involved in. It's not really a client room. We don't bring our clients in there. It's a place where lawyers can talk. It's also a place where the judges frequently come to discuss matters of general interest with lawyers. We also have law enforcement officers that come back in there, particularly when the grand jury's in session and they're down there testifying because of his proximity to that room, get a cup of coffee, and they're waiting to testify. So it's, that's generally the group that comes in there. Now, I, for one, I think the clerk of the court doesn't use that bathroom up there. I don't know whether the register of deeds come in there or not. I've never seen one of them in there, and I'm one of the lawyers that's in there quite a bit. I've seen them come in there and get some ice for, water pitcher or something, but, I mean, I really don't think it's a widespread problem down there. I think if it weren't for the concerns of the DA's staff, this whole thing wouldn't be here.
Now, what?
And we'd love to work it out with them.
Yeah, over time, the DA's office has encroached towards that side of the courthouse. With the recent budget that was passed by the legislature, they've been added 2 more employees, so they're going to be up to 9, 5 attorneys and 4 support staff. So that's why, I mean, they're, as Mr. Hole likes to say, they're now the largest law firm in Lee County. So, they are requiring more and more space.
I'm sure they appreciated that.
Well, they're, I think it's a testimony to what kind of job they have to do now, that they have to have that many people. So, so.
And we understand their need for space,
they
but you
have
have an obligation to provide them with that. We're not trying to, interfere with that in any way, shape.
Let me ask if the others would like to
Thank you for your
comment.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam
Hagan.
Clerk, if you have interest, Madam Register Deeds.
They don't smoke on my side, so we don't go over on that side that much. So it
If they
doesn't
moved
bother
them
us.
over there and the smoke came into your office, would you complain?
I'm sure.
Okay,
mine
that's what I
would
thought,
be
yeah.
good, yeah.
I don't think where you move these, if they're still smoking, there'll be a complaint. Because the smoke does filter. When you open a door, the smoke is in the building. You have housekeepers, you have other people in there. I think it'll be a problem no matter where. And we're willing to work with it. We'll find them a room, but if you can't get the smoke out, it is hard to get smoke out of fabric and wall and books and things like that.
Oh, I agree. I'm a non-smoker and would probably be on that same kick if I were down there, but we only have so much money and so many buildings. So I'm actually asking the board to help find a compromise if we can get one. And yes, sir.
If you designate a smoking area, it'll be a public smoking area,
Yes, sir.
not just a private one.
Yes, sir. Okay. Mr. Bean,
Yes, sir, Mike. As I understand the question was, is the problem one of mixing, that is, people from the district attorney's office going into the lawyer's lounge area, where Mr. Crumpton has correctly noted that there are private bathrooms, and that's something that we need to use, particularly if we have grand jurors or petty jurors involved, because you have to avoid the appearance even of impropriety. But it's not just that, it is the proximity. There were different stages of filtration that were tried, as he noted, but again, had little or no effect. And, our position again is we just want something that'll give us some relief. We're not looking to dispossess anybody or necessarily prohibit smoking, but it's a problem, and we just come to you all asking that something be done.
With the device that was installed, was it strong enough to pull out filter?
No, sir, it was still a problem. And they installed it, and my understanding, there were varying degrees of strength that they could adjust it to, and as they adjusted it all the way up to the max, it still remained a problem.
If we designate a public smoking area inside the courthouse, somewhere, courthouse building somewhere, are we gonna have to do that here? In any other kind of government-owned building, whether it's necessary or not, if somebody challenges it, are we gonna have to do that?
I think it's at your discretion based on the statute that Mr. Hoyle read to you.
Have one in this building, that's your call.
What's the difference in this building and the courthouse building?
No, the government building.
But so if an employee wanted to smoke inside this building, they could challenge it as well, correct?
We have a policy against it, you know, with an
You've got a
employee.
right to designate a smoking area if you want to.
With this building, we have a policy in all our buildings. The reason we have issues, or could have issues, is if a person in the general public came in the hallway there and was smoking, we would ask them not to smoke or to leave the building. If they didn't, we would have no legal mechanism to, you know, write them a citation or do anything like that, because it's just a policy, it's not a law.
It only pertains to the employees.
And the employees, you know, we have disciplinary procedures we can take to correct that action. And I think in the past, we had some smoking issues in the bathrooms, and I think some disciplinary things had to occur to get to stop. So, you know, that's why, you know, we're looking at the ordinances to put some teeth into it. But we do have the policy, so.
So if we had a policy there and somebody infringes on it, we just, what, nothing?
Well, I guess the courthouse could be a little bit different. I guess a judge could, the clerk goes up to a judge and says, hey, we need to get this person to quit smoking. I guess he could hold that person in contempt or something and take care of it. But it's a little bit different, I guess, there than it would be here. Here, we'd have a little bit, we'd have a tough time enforcing that.
Down there, we have some cases.
But
I guess I feel that if state government, feels it's a good enough policy for them to require non-smoking in their government buildings, it's funny how they can make exceptions to the rules when it comes to everything other than unfunded mandates. But I would propose that we would adopt the ordinance as.
First, before we do anything,
Okay.
Ms. Shook, I think Mr. Whitaker wanted to say something. Thank you, Mr. Bean.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to add several comments to those which have been made. Mr. Bean spoke with me some time back about this issue, and the concern was the assistant district attorney employee that he was referring to had been given office space on the other side of the wall from the library. And he mentioned that this employee was bothered by smoke, being able to smell smoke. And he asked me if I would get the word out to those who came in there to refrain from smoking within the library, which I did. And I'm not aware since that time that anyone has gone in the library itself to smoke. The door separating the law library and the lounge is kept shut. At my own expense, I purchased an air cleaner and installed, it's just a plug-in air cleaner that did seem to help. I recall when the county came down and they had installed some sort of filtration system in the center of the room in the lounge. And I think the problem with that system is that in spite of this filter, whatever is in the air gets into the air ducts that circulate about the entire building. And it appears to me that perhaps the solution may well be to vent the air from that room to the outside. Now, presently, in the rear of the lounge and outside the lounge, but adjacent to the lounge, there are 4 restrooms. Each of those restrooms has an exhaust fan, which I'm informed exhausts the air from the bathrooms to the outside of the building. And it would seem to me to be a simple matter of running a duct, just a piece of duct work about 10 feet to the center, of the lounge, and installing a fan of sufficient strength to pull the air out of the room and put it outside of the building. And as Mr. Hager said, I've offered to pay the expense of that, just so the county would not be burdened with that expense. So I think that that would be a plausible solution. And as Mr. Hager has said, we are certainly amenable to the lounge being located to any place else in the building that that would be appropriate. So just wanted to let the board know about those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one other comment at this point.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear from Mr. Martin, who has done some work for us on the safety committee.
Okay.
And I know he's been around construction. Do you mind answering a couple of questions for us?
Not at all.
Thank you. With your background in construction, I guess my concern is, number one, I oppose smoking. I don't smoke. And I'd like to see the building smoke-free. But that's a personal matter. We can get men and women on the moon can't get smoke out of the building. We need to rethink what we're doing. Can you help us with your experience?
Well, the idea of a fan and an exhaust fan, which would exhaust a finite space, a room, 2 rooms, whatever, as long as those 2 rooms are connected by a door opening, sure, you can take the air out of them. We've done that in high-rise office buildings all over the country, where for a while there, different companies as tenants of a building would want a smoking room, and a separate system was installed for that room. And there was a separate exhaust fan, and then there had to be some kind of a supply, because you just can't take all the air out of the room and not put any in. So there has to be some kind of small unit that provides air and takes out air and exhausts it to the outside. And that works, although over the years, if it's the least bit imperfect, and if there's the least bit of a situation where somebody walks in the smoking room and leaves the door open for 30 seconds, somebody outside says, I can smell smoke out here. And it gets down to a very, very, human level where you can't satisfy everybody all the time.
Right.
Okay, but that's what's worked in other places. And I don't know the physical conditions here because I haven't seen them, but probably that could work here.
I know we've got a public hearing tonight at the courthouse. Is there any way we could see this area?
Absolutely.
I was getting ready to say it might be a good idea if board members that's never been there to go and look at it.
We need Mr.
Schedule.
Spivey to get us back there.
Okay.
I said, can you give us my background so that other people never know something down?
Mr. Martin has years of experience in construction management, mainly in New York and Chicago. He also has construction management experience here. He helped with the Walmart down here, but his main claim to fame, he worked on the renovation of the Chicago schools, Chicago district, over 300 schools in that district. He also did work for the Supreme Court and World Trade Center and all those fun things in New York. So he's been doing it all his life. So
You're not a jackleg, he's a professional.
he understands it.
And just finished doing our safety, security inspections for the Lee County High School. I will go on record as saying my preference is that the lounge and break room area as it's currently located, if the board is going to consider anything, certainly to relocate it altogether. If the board chooses to look at that as a possibility. but I would ask that we consider allowing this gentleman to take a look at the situation. I don't know about any of you, I just got this. Did you all have it already? Any of you?
I got it late Saturday afternoon, evening, really.
I just got it
I
too.
don't know what it is.
So are we tabling this item for right now?
Well, it is tabled right now.
We have
I just had to see the place and see what we're talking about before, and then read this other information too before I go put my vote out there. I mean, I don't smoke, but you know, I don't care.
What about the rest of it?
I don't care about to be around smoke, but you know, that's me personally.
Well, I smoke, but I am very considerate of others. I'm around people all the time that may have health problems. A lot that I do know that has health problems, I stay away, you know, a good distance away. I go down to the enrichment center a lot on Saturday nights or something like this, and they have no smoking down there. All the smoking's done outside, and only there for, you know, 3 hours. So really, there's not that much smoking down there, but Ms. Shook?
Well, I am, when it comes to private, like restaurant owners and whatever, I think it's up to them what they want to do, because people have a choice of going to a concern because it's smoking or non-smoking. When it's a public building, people who have to go there have no choice sometimes. They have to be there. And so I think when it comes to public buildings, I think we're within our rights to set a no smoking policy there.
Well, I don't think it's a question about whether we have the right to. We already have the authority to do it. The question is, do you act before you know what you're dealing with, or do you at least find out what we're dealing with? I don't honestly know what we're dealing with. And more importantly, I don't know what's in here that I've just been given this afternoon. And I'm not sitting here suggesting to you that I don't favor a no smoking ordinance. I just like and would feel much better knowing what my options are.
I just think when it comes to public buildings, I think it's a good idea to have a non-smoking policy. That's my feeling.
Well, don't we have a policy?
We have a policy, just no ordinance.
Any further comments?
I personally feel like I have enough information. I would like to take it off the table and approve the ordinance that we have before us that was provided by Mr. Hoyle.
Right now, in looking at all this and getting this information and looking at it, I think it would be wise right now that we keep it tabled until all this information is digested. Other questions can be asked of the county attorney, Mr. Crumpton, and have a full member board vote. That will be something that I think would be needed. And I would, taking all this into consideration from everyone that has spoken today, I would make a motion.
You already have a motion.
Yeah,
He's already got a motion.
I'm of mind to take it off the table and vote, approve the
Oh,
ordinance.
I didn't hear
That
that.
was
Or you was talking about, you know.
That was my feeling, but I'd also like to take it off the table and approve the ordinance as drafted.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to take the motion off the table and proceed with a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I'm sorry.
Not without additional.
Well, I'm
It will
going,
require a second reading if it's not unanimous. So if the vote is
I'm going to,
counting 4-2, we'll have to have another reading at the next meeting anyway.
and thinking of what Mr. Kelly, Mr. Reeves has just said, and of course, I know the building, but to give them, you know, fair consideration and everything like that, not knowing the building, I think it's only fair that I change my vote to no for that reason, to let anybody go down there and look at it.
So we got a 3-3, what do we do?
Well, the ordinance fails on a 3-3 tie vote. So
Was it 3-3?
Mr. Pascal did not vote, so I didn't hear him say yay or no. So I'm assuming, yeah, so it's 3-3. So it fails.
You changed your vote, you voted.
Yes, I changed my vote to give everybody consideration to go down there and look at it. See what everything is involved down there.
So it's staying tabled if I understand.
Right.
Okay, let's move on.
All right. Madam Clerk, vote 3-3.
Before you move on, yeah, I would ask the board instead of allowing Mr. Martin to go down and take a
I'm so
vote.
proud of you.
Is it $2,000 a week?
He's already on.
He's already retired.
Commissioner, he's already on payroll. It's not an additional amount, it's included in
The only thing he would be doing is just going down there and giving a report on that, because he's already employed.
You've heard the motion, call the question. You don't want to vote on it.
Okay, the motion's on the table to allow Mr. Martin to go down to the courthouse and come back to the board with a recommendation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
I have a 4-2. Two noes. Next order of business, under new business. Consider the voluntary ag district ordinance. Ms. Conlon.
Vice Chairman Lamont and Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you with this recommendation of an ordinance that will help our farming community. North Carolina is a fast-growing, fast-paced, and as a result has become a national leader also in the loss of agricultural and farmland. However, our state leaders are also leading the nation in stepping up to preserve and protect our farmlands with the passage of state legislation. The legislation that was passed, the Agricultural Development Farmland Preservation Enabling Act, was passed with the purpose of authorizing counties and cities to undertake a series of programs to encourage the preservation of qualifying farmland to foster the growth, development, and sustainability of our family farms. In addition, in 1986, the legislature also established the Farmland Preservation Trust Fund, and in 2005, the Assembly passed legislation establishing the North Carolina Agricultural Development Farmland Preservation Trust Fund. It enhanced the fund that was already established. The purpose of this program is to advise the Commissioner of Agriculture on issues related to farming in North Carolina and the distribution of funds which promote conservation easements, agricultural agreements, and sustainability or viable agricultural programs. The Agricultural Steering Committee of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners is also very interested in farmland preservation, and our own Commissioner Jerry Lamont serves on this committee. At his urging in January, a local committee was put together representing the tax office, our registered of deeds, GIS, planning, soil and water, cooperative extension, forestry service, NCDA, with our local agronomist, our farmers, our agribusiness, landowners, retailers, and others here in the county came together to work at and to develop a voluntary agricultural district ordinances. Ordinances from surrounding counties were reviewed, and a model ordinance that has up on the web from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and the Farmland Preservation Trust Fund were also looked at, and our ordinance was put together, of which you have a copy in your packet today. We also consulted with Mr. Hall on this, and we utilized the services of Ted Fitzsands, an attorney and extension specialist at NC State University. Also working with us was DeWitt Hardy from North Carolina's Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Development Farmland Preservation Program. Both were extremely knowledgeable of the North Carolina statutes in covering farmland preservation. The VAD ordinance that you have is designed to encourage the preservation and protection of family farms, to increase the visibility of agriculture, forestry, and horticulture operations, and to protect and to promote these lands and their uses. The committee has worked hard to develop our ordinance, which seeks to preserve open space, promote economic diversity, increase the opportunity for locally produced agricultural commodities, increase the visibility of agricultural operations so that our new and potential landowners moving into the county are aware that if you move into the county, there may be dust, noise, smells that are associated with agriculture. And we also, the ordinance requires if any of the farmland is to be condemned, that there are public hearings in place to work through the condemnation.
Move to approve the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Have a motion on the floor to approve the ordinance of the voluntary ag district. All in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Come on with that no vote.
We appreciate your support of farmland. in
Thank you.
Lee County.
I would like to say this, there was a lot of work that went into this, and we have some of the members that was on that committee that's here today, and they're to be commended for the work they've done. Also, this will give us a chance to keep agriculture in the limelight right here in this county, because that's what Lee County is about, is agriculture. And the next thing would be to create a 7-member board to serve on this board to work for grants and grant funding to preserve the farmland preservation piece. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate all that help.
I appreciate those support.
Can we have chickens in the city limits?
I believe there's an ordinance on that.
You better call Hal on that.
Susan, thank you for answering my questions before the meeting. So my number one concern was, is this going to affect our tax base? And no. And second one was, I want to make sure the personal property rights of individuals are still protected. So.
I'd like to make a comment also. I'd like to thank Jerry Lamont for doing this. I know this has been his baby for quite some time, and Susan, I know y'all worked tirelessly getting this done. And I just wanted to say thank you for getting this done, because I think 10, 15 years down the road, people are going to say, man, that was pretty smart to do that, because we're preserving our farmland. We're not another strip mall city or county with pop-up houses here, with no trees. So thank you for all your hard work.
I like for you to know I saw that funding piece in here, and I'll be waiting on you.
The funding piece, okay. We're waiting on it.
Tough time, Susan.
All right. Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, item B under new business. Tax collector's annual statement for 2008 and prior years. Mr. Branson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board. Ms. McGee, could you do the last one? I've compiled a presentation for the annual tax settlement. Try to keep it as brief as possible.
Good idea.
what the settlement is. Basically, per North Carolina general statutes, the tax collector each year must settle with the governing board. It officially gives the tax collector authority to use enforced collections measures, including foreclosure, garnishments, etc. And perhaps most importantly is that it notifies parties that the tax lien is first in priority. The process, the governing board gives a charge to the tax collector for current fiscal year taxes. And also the governing board must approve the settlement of the preceding fiscal year as well as the 10 years prior. Items to be included basically are 4 areas to be included in the settlement. You have a preliminary report, an insolvent list, which is taxes older than 10 years, a settlement for current taxes, and a disposition of tax receipts, all of which should be included in the packet, and I'll reference throughout the presentation. This screen has a lot of information on it. It is on page 95 of the packets. Basically, the collections rate is broken into 3 categories on the screen, identified by the orange cell. The real and personal, you can see, had an overall collection over in the green on the right-hand column, overall collection of 97.98%. Public service companies would usually always be 100%. Registered motor vehicles was 85.95%, which obviously was the problem of our collections rate. Going for an overall collection rate of fiscal year into 2008 of 96.93.
What, do you know what the statewide average is for that automobile section, registered motor
The
vehicle?
statewide average is about 88 or 89%, so we're below the state average on that.
Where are we in moving that to DMV to be collected?
2010.
2010,
Yes,
so
sir.
that's in the works.
It is.
So we'll have to.
We still get pressure every session to change that from the automobile lobby. The legislature's getting pressure and they keep wanting to extend it out. And the association, the county commissioners keeps trying to beat it down. Next year, in the long session will be the key, because then the following year it kicks in. So we'll have to fight it one more time.
That'll go up to 100% when that happens, right?
Because at the time you register, at the time you renew your tax, you also pay taxes at
Right.
DMV.
As soon as if you follow the laws and you actually go through the registration process, which probably a large majority of our citizens of this county do not.
Well, they shouldn't have tags, they should be in jail.
That's right.
God.
I'd say 84%, dude.
Yeah,
Had the majority?
Oh, when we
You
get
didn't say Hispanic, she said
She said
citizen.
non-speaking,
I really do.
non-English speaking.
This screen is on page 100 of your packet. The general statutes gives the tax collector 10 years from the due date of the tax to use enforced collections. This last fiscal year, we had between July 1st and September 1st to collect the 1997 taxes, because the 1997 taxes became due September 1, 1997. And you can see what I want to show you on this screen basically is that 3 and 4 years out, we're collecting 99.5% of the taxes overall, including motor vehicles, personal property, real property, all the above. 5-year comparison of the collections rate. You can see that we're continually progressing with the collections rate. Now, the higher you get, the harder it is to increase your collections rate. This year we're 96.93. Far right, fiscal year 04, going to fiscal year 08. Review of performance in this last fiscal year. Within a population group of 25 counties, Lee County ranked 9th in overall collections percentage, which I think is a great performance because we've had a lot of turnover in the staff, and considering the state of the economy as well, it's a big feat.
How did they group the 25 counties or
By population.
by population?
And this is our population group here. We had 3 counties not reporting, which are at the bottom. The first column is the county name, second is real and personal, third column is R&B, the fourth column is the overall collections percentage for this last fiscal year. And the last column shows the change in overall collections percentage between the last 2 fiscal years. The last column cells are in red. Those counties had a decrease in overall collections percentages last year. The ones in green had an increase. And you can see where we're ranked. They're ranked in descending order, so we're near the top there on a 96.93%. And we're one of the counties that had an increase from last year, almost at the 10%.
Dwayne, do you know what 1% is? 1%, what does that equal in money?
What was it this year?
percentages are great, but I like seeing what the money is.
340,000, is that right? If we're collecting 34 million a year,
That's
1% would be 340,000.
Actual tax
So,
dollars.
yeah, and that's, if we increase our collections rate by 2 percentage points and get up to the upper echelon of these other counties, that's saving the taxpayers a pretty good chunk of change.
And I have some goals identified in the next few slides.
Penny and a half.
Is that fiscal year '08, is that ending June 30th or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is just a graphical view of the same information from the last slide. You can see Lee County, 9 down there. Lee County, 96.93%, which is above both the group average and the group median. Group average of 96.23, group median of 96.52%. So we're performing well above our population group. Our accomplishments this last fiscal year. We increased the collections percentage. Another thing is that we're updating the website, making it much more user-friendly. And lastly, we've begun to implement automation in using enforced collections. We issue garnishments, bank attachments, and hopefully in the future foreclosures, and we're able to track how effective those measures are. Next year when I do this, we'll be able to show you how many garnishments were issued, how much we collected, just to gauge the effectiveness of those programs. Our goals for this next year, first and foremost, is to build a productive and effective foreclosure program. That'll be key in collecting those delinquent taxes that are 5, 6, 7 years old. Increase the number of personal property accounts levied upon. If you remember, the motor vehicles percentage was roughly 86%. A lot of other counties in the population group that have the higher collections percentage than we do, they levy on personal property. And we're going to try to increase those accounts that we levy upon there.
How does your first goal coincide with the changes in the law? Didn't the governor just sign something today that talked about foreclosures for the state?
I'm not aware of that.
I'm pretty sure he did. So, you understand what I'm asking? What was available a year ago may be changing as a result of the market crash.
Right.
So foreclosures going to be impacted by the legislation that came out this year. So
Okay.
you need probably.
I'll definitely look at that. Definitely. Third goal is to rise to within the top 5 of our overall collections percentage, which in this year would have been around 98% or another percentage increase. And lastly is continue educating Lee County citizens regarding tax laws, valuation methods, and all that. We have on the 21st, which is this Thursday, we have a public education session at the McSwain Center. And we're going to go over our online bill system, tax law changes this year, how to appeal values, and things like that, multiple things like that.
Dwayne, let me ask you one question. With somebody that owes some back taxes and they trying to work with you and everything like that, do you work with them so far as to getting that tax paid?
We like to look at the history.
Right.
If they continuously pay and it's paid late, then usually we're never going to get that. Now, the policy is that once a tax becomes delinquent, then we don't accept payment arrangements. They can pay in full. We don't really negotiate once it's delinquent.
Right.
But we can. We look at the history and all elements of that.
So that's your discretion.
Yes, sir.
What's considered illegal?
For real estate, it'd be after January 5th of that fiscal year. Now,
Why is it always saying due September 1st, except late after?
That's when it's due. All the real and personal property taxes are due September 1st. Bills go out usually in July. The real and personal property taxes due September 1st of that fiscal year. You can pay without interest until January 6th, or the following business day.
But the interest kicks in then.
January 6th. So it's due September 1st, but interest doesn't really kick in until January.
Does anybody pay on time?
Oh, yeah, sure.
We need the cash flow. September 1st, they see that due date, September 1st, they start paying.
Wayne, I would recommend if there are people coming to you that do have issues with the current state of the economy, that you would work with them not if they're habitual people who are always late. I'm saying, please use some common sense and judgment on these people who are, and try to help them as much as possible.
We have done that in the past. We'll try to do that when we look at the case there. Okay. Can I answer any questions for the board members?
I think you just did on mine.
Okay. All right.
It's a good time to bring up my
Yes.
I think that we had previously given agreement to go ahead with foreclosure, but you just had mentioned that we have a really successful garnishment program as opposed to going foreclosure. So, and I think as I read through this tax foreclosure attorney agreement, what I would like to see before we pass this is a spreadsheet that's got a detailed cost and benefit analysis, because I'd like to see the current number of parcels, because evidently the attorney gets paid on the number of parcels, right?
That's correct.
And I'd like to see the amount of delinquent taxes per parcel, because as I see it, we could be going into the hole there some, because if there's $450 delinquent taxes on a parcel, and we end up paying the attorney $650, aren't we going in the hole $200 there?
If we submit a property foreclosure, the starting bid would begin at taxes owed plus attorney fees. So we would always is a strong word, most probably get the taxes back in return. If taxes owed were $1,000, the attorney's fees were $650. The opening bid would be $1,650. So we would get that tax money back. The taxpayer essentially pays the attorney.
Okay. Well, here's what I would like to see before I do anything on this. I'd like to see a spreadsheet that's got the parcels numbered, the owners, so you could do a quick sort to see all the owners who have parcels together, the outstanding taxes that are due, and then if this went to foreclosure, what's going to be the expenses, and then what's going to be the net cost to us. And we're not paying a retainer, I don't think. This is just strictly on, and if we don't give them 100 parcels every other month, is that going to mean we're not getting our money's worth either? I don't.
I spoke with Mr. Bardell about that, and with our staff, if we lose one staff member, we might not be able to give them 100 parcels per month, and he put some flexibility in that. Now, as far as the list, we have a list of all the properties that could be foreclosed upon. We have that readily available. Last time I ran it, was over 3,000 parcels or accounts that could be foreclosed upon. For real and personal, it was over $1 million in actual tax dollars.
So basically, y'all just don't have the time, the resources to handle this correctly?
Oh, no, sir.
So this, though, is just for real property, right?
If a person owns real estate and has delinquent personal property taxes, those personal property taxes attach to the real estate and become a lien on the real estate. So we could include those personal property taxes in with that foreclosure. So it would also increase our personal property collection rate as well.
Well, I would like to see the spreadsheet done on that to see, before we do anything, just to see what we're looking at, per parcel in outstanding taxes and whatever, because
It's $1 million. Over $1 million. You say it's over $1
But
million?
you can't look at it at total, you've got to look at it per
Don't
parcel.
have last month's
That's
stuff.
how we're gonna-
They owe us, if you owe us $1 million, it's
But it's per parcel that we're incurring the $650 on, so if you have
we're
some.
not incurring it if they're gonna pay it. We're getting it off the taxpayer. We're not incurring any cost.
Is there any property that wouldn't be able to sell for the tax amount?
If that's the case, I want to go look at the properties myself and see if it is marketable. And hopefully we can catch those properties if we don't think it's sellable. Hopefully we can catch those and screen them before they're sent to Zacchaeus Legal Service. And there may be some of those cases, but we're going to try our best to catch all those if they're not sellable.
That's 2 pennies on our tax rate.
Take a moment and explain that to me. Are you saying or suggesting that if it's unsellable and it goes to the contract person, they bill us anyway? Is that what you said?
If the suit has been filed,
Yeah.
if we send it to them, the suit has been filed, we would be subject to that attorney's fee. If the suit has not been filed, then we would pay $250 instead of $650.
But before we send anything to them, it will be screened.
Oh, yes, sir.
My next question was, do you have the resources? Because if we send it there and the first thing they do is send out a letter, and somebody pays because of that, and we don't let them know if this has been paid in full, then we're still,
We can, in our system, we can go in and flag for foreclosure. And we have stressed to the staff that if we go through this process, they need to carefully review those accounts and see if that flag is there. And if that flag is there, they need to contact Zacchaeus Legal Services and tell the taxpayer that this has already been submitted to foreclosure. That way, they won't, if they come in and pay the taxes and they don't pay the fee, that fee is still out there and they would still need to pay that. So we have we have a flagging system in there that will notify the clerk and they'll be able to pass that along to the taxpayer.
And it also lets them know that it has been paid.
Yes, sir. Once, the agreement we've set up with Zacchaeus is that they will collect the money.
Right.
So we won't have any expenses. They will send us the check, the tax money owed to us, once they receive it. And once we receive it, we'll code it in the account paid, and move on to next year.
So overall, we've got 3,000 accounts out there that owe us over $1 million. And this company is going to take these 3,000 accounts and start working to get our money back.
Yes, sir.
And that's the big picture,
Yes,
so
sir.
that everybody understands what we're talking about.
That's right.
What are we paying for each one? That's the-
Well, it's tacked on to the bill, to the taxpayer.
Is there a flat rate for each one?
And it's actually, depending on the number of parcels that a taxpayer owns, it could be a descending rate. For example, number 9 in the contract here, page 3.
If the person owes $1,000 to us, you tack on $650 and they only got $1,000.
It would be $1,650.
Yeah, I know how much it is. If they only pay you $1,000, they owe us $1,000. You're tacking on $650 for their fee.
Right.
Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, sir.
And if they paid $1,000, somebody owes $650.
Once a property is submitted to foreclosure, the taxpayer can't pay us. They're going to go through Zacchaeus Legal Services. I don't really want to staff in the legal arena.
I got that. Do we get our $1,000 and he works out his $650, or does he get $650 and we get $350?
The opening bid would start at the taxes owed to us and the attorney's fee, which would be $1,650 in that case. So yes, we would, and if nobody bids $1,650, then the county would get that property back, but those would be very few instances. That's why I
So
want to
basically,
go
somebody
through-
could not submit a bid lower than what, that did not include a key attorney fees.
Starting bid would be taxes and attorney's fee.
Dwayne, what other counties around us are doing this right now?
Chatham County just went with Zacchaeus. They just went to Morgan Stall foreclosure.
What about counties that have been at it longer? Didn't you check some other counties?
Well, throughout the state, there are probably less than 15 counties throughout the state that do in REM. And we moved to mortgage style. So there are about 15 counties, maybe more, maybe less, throughout the state that actually do the way we used to do it in REM, which is in-house.
What are the counties that are doing it this way? What is their success? Are they having some good successes with it?
They do, but they can attract the paralegals, and they have a much larger staff than we do.
No, I meant as far as using
using this
contract, using this. What kind
Is
of
it a high
are they
success
having?
Mr. Barthill's here, if you'd like to.
Sure.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just mention a couple of things to maybe reassure you and set you at ease. One of the biggest concerns commissioners have is how much of this property we're going to end up with, what kind of cost we're going to have. And I'll give you two good examples. We started in Warren County about 1.5 years ago, and the first year that we worked with Warren County, we collected $275,000 for them. Warren County has 20,000 in population, and your county has about 54. So that's a county that is, about 2/5 or less in size than your county. And their tax base is also only 1.3 billion, and you have 3.9 billion. So we're looking at a much smaller county there. Yet we collected $275,000 from a relatively rural county setting. In that situation, we collected that first $275,000 without ever getting a judgment from a taxpayer, without ever putting anybody out of their house, without ever taking anybody's family property from them. So that's an astonishing success story in that context.
If people know Warren County, you're right, I'm surprised.
Well, it works.
That's really, yeah.
And we have the staff and the dedication to be able to make it work. Our firm exclusively practices tax foreclosure law on behalf of counties. That's all we do. And if we could consider maybe a bigger county, so that you don't think maybe just a small population county is the unique situation. In Wilson County, in our first year, we collected $750,000 for them. Wilson County has a 77,000 population, and its tax base is about $5 billion. So somewhat larger, maybe a third larger than or a half larger than your county. That $750,000 again was collected without ever putting anybody out of their property, and their cost for that $750,000, what Wilson County had to pay in out-of-pocket costs to my firm was $4,559. So the costs are very, very low, the benefits are very, very high, and the incidence of dispossessing anyone from their home or from their family property is also infinitesimally low. The reason why this can occur is because generally, once the law firm comes involved and works in a systematic fashion to educate the public and make sure they understand that this enforcement procedure is going to go forward, people do find the way to make it happen. They do find a way to get it paid, and they don't lose their property. We represent 9 counties now, from eastern North Carolina: Jones, Onslow, Craven, Beaufort, Wilson. We also represent Warren County, which I consider a Piedmont county. We do a portion of Durham County's work, and we are now doing Chatham County's work.
I move to approve.
Have a motion on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
I'll say no, just because I would have liked to have seen the spreadsheet first. Jolene, I have a question
Warren
on
County, I'm telling you, I'm impressed.
on page 100. I had some questions with your, the adjusted levy. For example, I didn't understand these numbers. For 2005 was 348,000, and then we go to 2007, 34 million. There's something wrong here, right? Or what am I not seeing?
Ms. Shook, where are you looking at?
On page 100 of my packet.
Okay.
And it's the years charged in fiscal year 2008. I think I just need a better explanation of what these numbers represent.
Okay, the adjusted levy is the balance at the beginning of this last fiscal year.
So these were what's owed for back taxes for these line items?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the next column is what we collected. And obviously what's collected minus, or the adjusted levy minus what we collected is our year-end balance this last fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have an original levy, which is what was levied, for example, in 1997, $18 billion was levied. Of that $18 billion, to date, we've collected 99.75% of those taxes.
Will the garnishment one still go away if that was so successful, or?
We're still going to do garnishments, still going to do bank attachments. Sometimes you can't find people, you can't find where they work, their bank accounts. You you have no remedies except to put a sign in the yard or something like that.
See if I can get any other questions here.
No.
We needed to accept his settlement and order collection of the taxes.
The last page right here, right?
Yeah, these two. Actually, you need to approve the order of the board and approve the resolution. So you got 2 things that actually need to be approved.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Both? Yes.
Have a motion on the table to approve those two items brought to us today on page, say what is it, 95, the resolution.
You got the order on page 96 and the resolution on page 98.
Okay, to approve those two items of information, the resolution and the order. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. That vote carries unanimously, Ms. Lee, and the one prior was 5-1.
What was the one prior? It was on the,
The one.
on Jamie's motion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Just want to know what I'm voting on.
If this is your signature, we gotta work.
Quick and easy.
He's a doctor in another life.
Thank you.
Can't be any worse
Thank
than
you,
mine.
Mr. Princeton. Okay. Item C, revision of solid waste ordinance.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman. We've had several discussions with the commissioners about code enforcement and littering and some other things out in the county. And as we were going back through our ordinances, I met with Joe Cherry, went over the solid waste ordinance, and a lot of the issues that Mr. Pascal and Mr. Kelly brought to my attention could be handled with a little bit stiffer solid waste ordinance. And in this ordinance, the main difference between what we had and what we're proposing here today is the ability to issue a citation for violations. Issuing a citation is a lot cheaper than trying to sue somebody in court to enforce the ordinance. And this way we can get either a sheriff's deputy or even an employee of General Services Department to issue a citation and try to start taking care of things by fining people for violations of littering and having illegal dumps in their yards and that kind of stuff. So we think this is the first step towards trying to, clean up some of those unsightly messes that are out in the county.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
On section 22/8, those people that are out in the county, especially down in my part of the district, those aren't all licensed junk dealers, are they? Because that's the one exception here. So is it pretty hard to become a licensed junk dealer?
It's junk.
No, you got enough.
They have to have a permit.
That's all?
And a lot of junk.
They have to have a permit.
I think we need to make
would issue
work
them.
on making that stronger. Do we have any? Because
One thing at a
this is
time.
on page 8 of the,
Okay.
Page 110 of the agenda.
I'm sorry, page 110 of the budget packet, or the agenda packet.
22.8.
Yeah, the very bottom says no owner, occupant, tenant, or lessee of a building or a dwelling other than a licensed junk dealer may place or leave stuff outside the building. And I was hoping that all those people down in my part of the county aren't licensed junk dealers.
Why don't you go ask
We'd have some.
Ask them for the license. That's
Enforce
what
all these abandoned vehicles and whatever that's there.
I don't think they would have to have some type of permit or zoning from the community development department. And I don't believe that we've given anybody any of those.
So in all likelihood, they're not
No.
licensed junk dealers. Okay,
When you
now,
send- When you send somebody out there, I want you to call me,
why's that?
because I want to see you go out there and tell someone to move that bulky stuff around that property.
Oh, it's the abandoned mobile homes, and in fact, you learn a lot when you're out campaigning. I had somebody on Minter School Church Road tell me that one way that if we wanted to get rid of some of those, and I want to ask your opinion on this, Mr. Hoyle. One way we could get rid of a lot of these abandoned vehicles is send somebody out there to get the VIN number and then send them a property tax bill. He said that would probably get these off of the property real quick. You start sending them. Can we do that?
Find out it's registered in his name.
No, let's
They'd have
say.
to have they'd have to have a registration, would they not, to tax it? I don't know how else. Of course, our tax folks just left, so here, but that, I'm not really sure.
You just go ahead and walk up on a person's property and get the VIN number because the old car is sitting on it.
An old car isn't a problem.
All right, what is-
8 old cars is a
Okay.
problem.
8 old collectible.
In the same yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, call me when you do it. I want to see you.
I'm just asking if we can do some of this stuff, you know?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I'll ask the tax collector if we can do that.
If it isn't a
I think
nuisance
there's
to
some
somebody,
things about,
it's not gonna be called in.
So, would it be enforceable, if you do get complaints, complaint after complaint on it?
Well, I can say that if that person who lives on Minners Church Road wants to sell their property and the place next door that's got all this stuff sitting on the front yard, we're not giving them a tax decrease for the devaluation of their property, but yet they can't sell it because it is, next door and it's decreasing the value of the
So
property.
you pick up the phone and call Mr. Cherry.
that's right.
And the second question I had is, let's say that I'm driving down one of those roads in the county and I see somebody just throw out a bunch of trash. Can I report them? Can I get the license number and report them legally and have them cited? So citizens can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
You'd have to
But you'll
go
be
to
going to
court,
court
it'd be a
with us when we
citizen
cite-
arrest type situation.
I have my digital camera with me.
That's what you're gonna need, because you're gonna be going to court with us.
We have a real problem with people throwing their trash out down the southern part of it. And I don't know whether it's in other parts of the county, but it's really, it's not just trash. It's mattresses that you'd see out in the ditch and all that
I
stuff.
think
So-
if you
Well, I think
find
Mr.
any
Cherry,
information-
when I discussed this with him, he really felt like we needed to start taking care of the illegal dumping and passing the litter sweep, resolution today. Obviously, it's a good time to get going on it all.
When you said illegal dumping, you mean not taking it to the dumpster, right?
I think if you see, if you see a pile of garbage that somebody's put out in bags and they're called to come out and they can go through and if they find anybody's name on any bill or anything, that person needs to come get that trash and take it off. Can you not, can we do that?
We can cite
It
them.
won't be accepted as evidence in court.
It won't.
Right.
In other words, he's gonna say, I had Joe Blow hired to haul my trash away. I didn't throw it out there.
Oh, the wind blew it down. I'm just telling you, I want to really see, we ought to send somebody to school and see how tough this is. This is
Well, I agree with you.
This is a serious matter that can get real messy in a hurry. I applaud you for doing what you're talking about doing, and I think that every citizen ought to take that position. But it somehow changes when it's time to go to court. That's always been the problem. We've talked about this. This is not the first time I've heard this, and how brave the commissioners are about going out and cleaning up this county. But when it gets down to the seriousness of identifying that person and then going down and testifying against them, somehow it just drives them.
I think a lot of the problem are the landlords, and I call them slum landlords that will rent out an old, mobile home or something and not care what's on there and what's going on. And you have people around them with nice brick homes and whatever that really get frustrated with this. So it is a problem. And I have a success story on the dump that I want to talk about. I was in California first week of July for my grandchild's birth, and I got a call from somebody, and they had lost their keys at the dump. It got inadvertently dumped with a roll of carpet or something. So I called John. It was after 5 o'clock, and explained the situation, and says, is there any way this young man can go out and look? And John says, I don't know, let me get a hold of Joe and Russell. So next morning, they had agreed to meet this young man out at the, where did they go?
We're at the landfill, or they were at the landfill.
And they said, do you have any idea where, he says, yeah, and they went, and within like half hour or so, they had, and it was a set of keys, and it had all of these other things on it. It was really valuable to him. So I sent an email, I don't know whether they both read emails, but saying thank you for going above and beyond and digging through the trash to find this young man's treasures. So that was good to know that our employees are very responsive there and that they were successful.
Speaking of trash, one of my pet peeves is getting up on the weekend and there's a yard sale sign tacked to the telegram pole. Whatever it is. We still use that. That's right, I mean, and I get tired of picking up that trash. The yard sale sign is there for the weekend, and the next couple of days, still tacked to the, when it blows off, you wind up having to pick it up. Notwithstanding the fact that people pull up, where your yard sale is not right. But we don't, we don't do anything about those kind of things.
You know, on the circuit on Saturday.
I try not to be.
The yard sale, sir?
No.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the ordinances and adopt the ordinance as presented.
Okay, have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0, Ms. Lee. All right, next on the agenda. John, would be the resolution that you were speaking of earlier.
Right, well, we already had we already discussed the bar's resolution, so I think
Okay.
we pretty much took care of that under old business, so we can skip to.
The chiller,
Yeah.
item E.
Right. I have Mr. Spivey here to discuss the bids on the courthouse chiller. We received them last week. We received 4 bids, and I'll let him discuss that. It should be in your additional item packet that has this cover right here. It's about halfway through. Page up in the right-hand corner, page number 5.
What page on the agenda?
It's on the agenda.
Oh.
It says-
It's the supplemental. These 3 items right in a row at the back of this.
I got
Says
it.
additional items to be added.
Got it.
Thank you, Board. Under the conditions, y'all had instructed us to hire an architect, which we did, Merlin's and Sherman, to look at our situation. In return, he also hired a mechanical engineer, Robert Lysack of Greensboro, which are here for questions. I appreciate you 2 gentlemen coming. But we made it to courthouse and they'll review what we needed. And I'd like to thank them again. We had a fast response and turnaround to put this project together. Because we done some redesigns, which Mr. Lysack done that as I asked, and he done that. We had a pre-bid on the 7th of August at the courthouse. We had a bid opening last the 14th at the courthouse, at the clerk court 14th. The low bid, we taken Mr. Sherman has recommended that Cooper Mechanical, that he is rewarded the bid of $228,000. But also the bid of deduction, and Mr. Lee Lidikin is here today too, if there's any questions need to be asked upon him, $10,500 for a concrete pad that will not be needed due to the fact we can fit it on the pad that we have there. And that's the recommendation from Mr. Rollins and also the mechanical engineer. Y'all have any questions for them they're here?
What's an air stack?
Air stack is a scroll chiller. A lot of you have scroll, air conditioners in your house, which is usually a heat pump. And air stack is just a name. I think it's sponsored by Trane. Is that right?
That's correct.
Actually, I have my crew to go to Arlington, my HVAC guys, and also to Raleigh to look at each unit. The air stack is the most likely the top of the line, but there's quite a bit of difference in cost compared to it and the York. The York will can do the same thing, but it doesn't have quite as many extras as the stack, the air stacks.
Russell, what's the approximate life on that system? I know what we had before. What would be the life on this, if you have any idea?
Now, let me ask
Any of the gentlemen here.
These would probably be 20 to 25 years for the equipment. Plus the fact that the equipment as such is very simple to maintain. In other words, if, say, a compressor goes out on it, the maintenance people could get the replacement compressor and replace that particular portion of the machine and then put it back in operation without causing you to have to buy a whole new machine. And in this case, there would be 8 duplications of the machines on this project.
What's the warranty on this?
The warranty is, currently it's 1 year fully, parts and maintenance and parts and repairs, and then four additional years on the compressor. I did talk to the York people, and they did say they can give you an extended warranty on all the parts and labor for 5 years.
At a cost of?
At a cost of, he said approximately 5% of what the equipment is valued at. It's an insurance policy, of course.
There, we received a email from one of the bidders, and I just want to make sure that the York equipment met the specifications in the bid, and that there wasn't, I guess, any implication that the only type of equipment that could be bid was train or air stack.
Originally, we thought that the only type of equipment could be air stack, and that's why we had it as an alternate, because we knew it was going to cost more money. However, York Corporation has been building these machines, and although it isn't quite as sophisticated as the air stack, it accomplishes the same result.
So in your opinion, they're the low bidder?
In my opinion, there's no reason to justify spending an additional $100,000.
What's the difference between York and Train? I know it's a different manufacturer. Is it a different product?
Well, no, the two, they both have scroll compressors in them. They're both the same type of machine. However, the air stack as such is a completely independent unit, okay? The York machine has 2 evaporators rather than 4 evaporators, which is partly simplified. The scroll compressors are 30-ton scrolls instead of 15-ton scrolls. On the air packs, you would have 16 compressors instead of 8 compressors. These are refinements to the product. In fact, like the air stack, you could just take one of them out and replace it as an entity, totally. The York machine would be a 4-unit package that you would replace.
Mr. Byron, are you satisfied with what we?
But you do not have to replace the whole machine. That's the whole point of the operation of these types of compressors.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am, Mr. Reeves. It would be nice if we could have the others, because keep in mind, Board, that this, you know, you might have a more likely chance of being down, but you're less likely because you do have 2 separate units. With the air stack, you're likely just hardly any, because you have so many different components will work by itself if you do one at a time.
One last question about how long would it take to install the unit? Roughly.
Talking with Lee, I spoke with him this morning. We're looking 8 to 9 weeks to get it here in 10 days, correctly?
That's correct.
All right. And one other thing too is keep in mind that there's a lot of components makes this operation run. I don't want you, in other words, 2 months from now, we put the chiller in, you get a call from somebody saying, well, our cooling's not working. But it could be the fact if we lose our air, which is a pneumatic system, we have a problem with that. We have 16 air handlers that supply one end of the courthouse. We have 3 that supply the other end. If something fails on that, if we have a failure in our computer program, we have to reload that, but your likelihood will be a lot less.
Just keep a copy of the receipt handy.
Now, Lee, you going to be doing all the maintenance on this? Yeah.
I'm sure.
I mean, for the year, the warranty year.
That and yours.
I mean, it's
They're physically warranting the parts, we're warranting the labor.
right. Okay. So I mean, I'm just thinking if there is something down, we've got somebody here in.
Yeah, now that's one thing, and I spoke with Lee about it this morning. I asked him, I said that you'll be able to support us, with this unit if we do go with it, and he assured me of that.
I'm glad to see us a Lee County contractor.
I'd like to also thank the board for your support. It's been a pretty trying time this summer, but I do feel like I really appreciate the support of the board through this time, and I felt good about that. Worked hard to try to get this together, but also Mr. Crumpton, he's stood beside me. And Mr. Hoyle, thank you so much for your input with helping me put these bid packages together. Really appreciate it for that.
Weren't we gonna have somebody look at the heating system?
We got that going on.
Oh, we did, okay, yeah.
All right, I have a motion on the table to approve the chillers for the courthouse and jail, $228,000, Cooper Mechanicals, Sanford.
That's the 10, right?
That's 10-5, correctly?
With the, I was getting ready to say, less the 10.5.
We have another option that we had discussed, Russell and ourselves, and Mr. Hull, in that we can delete the bid bond on this, performance and payment bonds, and get another credit on this of about $44,560, which is
Thank you.
Since it doesn't exceed $300,000, you can waive the performance bond if you so choose. If that, it would give us a credit of $4,560. I recommend that we waive it and get the credit.
That's because it's equipment rather than construction.
Right.
I know where to I know where to find Lee, so I.
So moved. All right, with that amendment, let's see. Got the motion with the amendment to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, we would like to have the, whoever's responsible be able to issue a letter of intent while the attorney is preparing the contract so that the contractor can order the equipment and get it going into production.
County manager.
We can do that off of
Can you
off
do
the
that?
motion.
You take care of that, John?
Yes.
All right.
The next item, Mr. Vice Chairman, was the budget amendment. We originally had asked for $326,000 to be transferred to, no, this was general services for the installation, and plus, we spent quite a bit of money over there trying to fix the old one and renting a unit. Sorry, I've been here a while.
Like telegram poles.
It's kind of like telegram poles. So, Ms. Mentor has, actually, we can subtract 14,000 from that, and actually make the budget amendment 312,000, transfer their department to cover all these expenses and get this done.
Move to approve, you need a motion, right?
Yes, please.
Have a motion on the table, Ms. Shook, correct?
Yes.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
All right, the next item is the QSAB school project budget ordinance. This allocates the $1.622 million that the schools need to use for their projects. We've been over this. I see Mr. Jackson here today. I'm sure he'll be happy to get this money
Move to approve.
and finish their projects.
Have a motion on the table to approve the $1,622,021 for QSAB. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Pass unanimously, Ms. Lee. All right. Manager's report.
First item is the monthly financial report. Ms. Mentor.
have before you the financial report for July 2008. As you can see, our revenues are coming in relatively slowly. That's because a lot of what we receive in July is still reflective of items for June of the prior year. Sales tax, as I've explained several times, runs 3 months behind. Since preparing this and putting it in the agenda, we did receive the sales tax information that was collected in May. As of those collections, we have hit the budget target for the 1% collections. It looks as though we hopefully will make budget on all the 0.5% sales tax. It appears that what's happening is that the economy is holding in Lee County, but maybe falling in the other parts of the state. So those are all distributed on some portion of per capita. So we're losing a little bit there. So we may be pushing the budget. We will not make the original the budget projections, the original budget amounts. I think we should be able to make the projections. Not looking as good. So as far as expenditures go, our target would have been 8.33% for the first month of the year. We have a few departments that are over that. Finance is exceeding that at this time due to audit fees. Fire marshal is over due to the purchase of a vehicle. Economic development, as usual, runs over because we have a large incentive that's paid out in July or August every year. Departments that are showing 25% represent quarterly appropriations where we pay the first quarter in the month of July. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Yes, I would just like to request that when incentives are paid out, that we get an itemization, you know, in the month that those are paid, so that we just know.
Lisa, you said May of, you got the numbers for May. What was that compared to 07?
Did not bring it in with me. I'll be glad to step out while y'all move on and come back with that information. I apologize. I can get it relatively quickly. I just did not grab it. I'll get that.
They were slightly up. And that really had, I don't remember the exact numbers, but probably had something to do with people starting to get their refunds from the, or their rebate checks, whatever they were called.
We are still up in all categories for the year. It's just not as much as we hoped, but I'll get it from you.
Before she takes off, the first item that I was going to report on was the Finance Department and Ms. Minter have received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our comprehensive annual financial report in June 3rd of 2007. This is a big achievement. I think we've received how many years in a row now? A lot of work goes into that report.
How many did you say, Lisa?
It's either 10 or 11.
I want to say it's 11.
It may be. I think we did it. Everything's kind of based on when I had children. I think we may have done it with the year before I had the first child, so it would be 11 if that's the case.
It's not mandatory.
That's exactly right. Her staff do a great job. So we appreciate all their hard work, and with what's going on in another county in the state, you should be thankful that we have a very good system of reporting to the board what's going on.
I will say that you do have at your seats copies of the final budget document, in case you're wondering what that is. It is the final budget, so if you look in the back, you'll see the final budget as you adopted it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we know why. Ed says, I thought we already passed this budget.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vice Chairman, the next item I have is the San Lee Dam Improvements Project Schedule. I just included that for your review to let you know that we do have a pretty tight schedule on how we're going to try to proceed with construction, hopefully starting in the spring. I have received, and I haven't had a chance to review it yet, but the preliminary dam safety report for the park. So, our engineer is on schedule, and hopefully we can bring this issue to a resolution pretty quickly, since it's been out there hanging so long.
Well, it's been hanging from 2000 when I came on the board, and there's been steadily progression on it. However, sometimes it does seem slow, but
Who was originally in charge of the project?
What project?
The dam project, was it?
Well, yeah,
he was here then. I mean,
I thought
Public Works. And he's, you know, he stayed on the forefront of it, meeting with all the different ones, the legislators, you know, even over here at the Civic Center, also with the environmental impact folks. I see Mr. Reeves had picked up the annual report of the 10 councils of the that serves like environmental impact that the board that I serve on, that has been working on this project of the.
This drug out a long time, hasn't it?
It has. It has.
I just wanted to know.
Well, we looked at all the alternatives and options, and then we requested federal funding to support it. And when all of that fell through, we scraped up the money.
But I think it's paying off, and I think it will be a huge benefit to the citizens of this county once that project is complete, because I think it would be detrimental to it so far as having to drain that reservoir, those 2 reservoirs.
You know, quite frankly, not that it matters, but when they were putting in the highways and had all those catch basins over there.
Exactly.
On the road, I would have put something on there and pump it up. Have you ever seen the fall down?
I will also say, every commissioner has one of these annual reports from the RC&D councils over in North Carolina. If any of you have projects that you see in your neighborhoods similar to these, request it. We'll put it into the works with environmental impact and get something going like the Buchanan Park stream restoration project, something like that. Because it's right. And go, you know, from there. All right.
Yes, sir, I'm still going, if that's all
Okay.
right.
I didn't know where you were.
Oh, yeah, I'm bouncing around. The next issue is the safety and security inspection that the board authorized Mr. Martin to conduct. He and his team, which I think worked out real well, how the inspections worked and how the team worked, and the cooperation we received from both the Board of Education staff, Mr. Jackson and his staff, and the folks at the community college. I think it went real well. So remember, this was a safety inspection to determine that the facility was safe for the children to attend, for the students to attend. So hopefully it was nothing more, nothing less for y'all. And Mr. Martin's here to answer questions and make a short presentation to y'all. So turn it over to Mr. Martin.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, upon being authorized to do this study and investigation, I, as John said, put together the team, or worked with the team, which included the Chief Building Inspector of Sanford, the Fire Chief of the City of Sanford, the Lee County Environmental Service Director, the Fire Chief of Lee County, the Principal of the high school, and John Pittman, the Director of Maintenance, I believe, and 2 gentlemen from the Chamber of Commerce, Jerry Pedley and David Nestor, who's here this afternoon. We went through with the assistance of Greg Batten, and he spent days with us opening doors, unlocking doors, locking doors, making sure all the lights were out behind us. And we went from room to room, closet to closet, storeroom to storeroom, cubbyhole to cubbyhole, underneath stairwells, you name it, we were there. And we did that on every building. I took what we found and put it into 5 categories. The first one was emergencies, and I used the legal definition as far as it exists in North Carolina for the word emergencies, and that's in the report. I won't go through it again. And we found out that there were perhaps 2 one condition, let's say, that arose to the fact that something might be an emergency, and that was the fact that the buildings of the high school being built at different times have different systems of fire alarms in them, and the fire alarm systems are incompatible, so that what works in one building doesn't necessarily transmit to another building. So if there's a fire in, let's say, the new shops, one of the buildings, it isn't compatible with the rest of the system that would report that there's a fire right away in the principal's office. And the second thing was that there were two locations, the main kitchen for the cafeteria and the kitchen for what's known as the cafe, which is just above the principal's office, where the hood fire suppression systems, hood meaning the hood over the cooking surfaces, which are gas systems and are designed to, when there's a fire, this thing just goes off and it smothers the fire almost instantaneously. And neither one of those two systems was working. I can report to you that the Board of Education had let a contract to have these systems replaced, and the system in the school cafeteria has been replaced, has been reviewed by the fire department, and they have blessed it and approved it, and that system is back in order. The one over the second story over the principal's office has been looked at, is in the process of now being put in A1 operating condition, and by next Monday when school opens, we expect there will no longer be a problem. The topic of the systems being incompatible is something that has to be probably addressed long range, because it would bring the system throughout the entire campus up to a state-of-the-art system, which would most likely be wireless and most likely be able to pinpoint any fire, any place, run it into a central station, run it to the fire department, and the fire department can respond more quickly, with perhaps the attendant saving of life and property expense. That was the only emergency we classified. We did look at and list here separately pages 2, 3, and 4 of your report there, or 2 and 3, excuse me. And we took updates to current codes. When the last series of buildings were built at the campus was about 1980-81, and I'm sure the then current codes were met. But in current codes, updates of codes, they are no longer met. So I think it behooves us to look at those conditions and bring them up to date as far as we possibly can, so that we have done our due diligence as far as making sure we have a safe school. I'm not going to do those individually. The third category was maintenance, and maintenance is like there's an exit sign and the light bulb behind the exit sign is out. Somebody needs to go replace the bulb. And this happens everywhere. And probably in our houses, if we didn't have a warning signal from the smoke alarm, we probably wouldn't bother to replace the battery. Well, in this particular condition, obviously, since we're dealing with a school and 1,000 or more students, it would behoove us to make sure, and it would behoove the Board of Education to make sure that all these things are kept up to date. And the fourth object was housekeeping, and housekeeping, in my mind, refers to something like there's some combustible cardboard cartons in a boiler room, not the place for it, ought to be cleaned out. There's a layer of dust in the boiler room, not the place for it. Dust ought to be taken out of the boiler room, and maybe the floor ought to be painted so that the concrete floor doesn't dust up some more, things like that. There's also one item I refer to in the, I'll backtrack a moment. in the update to the current codes, and that is the fact that there is a traffic arrow in the middle of Nash Avenue which says you can make a left turn at a certain spot, and if you do that, you will crash right into 3 lanes of traffic coming out of the parking lot of the school. They're just opposing arrows, and I don't know how many people have noticed it or how many people haven't noticed it, but I did after I drove in a few times. Finally, I have something called miscellaneous, and it talks about the fire alarm system being upgraded. It talks about cleaning out all site drainage pipes, all manholes, all catch basins, all structures that relate to that particular system. And once that's done, perhaps with a few heavy rains, we'll see how much flooding occurs at that point in time. If we do have flooding, then this system, which takes basically water off of the grassy areas, not off of the parking lots, those are separate systems. This system then might have to be upgraded and some of the pipes enlarged. When you get into that, though, you get into enlarging the drainage structures, the catch basins, the manholes, and all the rest of it. We need to look for a look at maybe the domestic water and the fire water systems, because there are something like 3 or a maximum of 4 fire hydrants on that entire campus. That's a little low, and perhaps there should be some more fire hydrants so that the fire departments, when they have time, when they get to the point where they have to fight a fire, they don't have to go 400 feet or 500 feet. They can be within, hopefully, 100 feet. Next thing is, there might be some ACM. We don't know that for sure, but some parts of it look suspicious to me, and it would be probably a good idea to have someone come in and survey the ACM and test samples and give us a report.
Can you tell the board what ACM is?
Oh, asbestos-containing material, I'm sorry. We use that, if engineers have found out that if they use the word asbestos too many times in a report, everybody gets absolutely crazy. So we just use ACM, and not as many people get crazy fast, as that fast. Anyway.
So did you do some testing for mold?
No, we did not. ACM, when I say ACM, I'm including mold and mildew and all that sort of thing as well. That would all be done by the same firm, and they would come in and do it. We have not done it. I can honestly tell you that throughout the school I saw no evidence of mold. None. Zip.
There was a lot of rain this summer. Did you witness a lot of leaks in the roofs, or?
A few, John.
Okay.
A few, not many. Not many. I think that the one I can think of was in the foreign language building, in one corner of an office there.
I was getting ready to ask you, was that a corner of a building, or was it in the center, or what?
That particular one was in the center of the building.
Okay.
I mean, on the edge, on the outside edge of the building, but in the center of the building. Let me see. The next thing I put down is a mechanical engineer for an air conditioning for the system for the new gymnasium, which apparently has been a cause célèbre for many years. There is no air conditioning, and I guess in a game or a scrimmage or whatever that they hold in that building, the temperature can get up to a startling high degree. And all they have are a couple of exhaust fans and a couple of large fans sitting at diagonal corners of the basketball court, blowing air across the court, which does probably nothing for anybody.
Just hot air.
What's that?
Just hot air.
Just hot air, that's all it's blowing around. And the last item was, I said retain a lighting consultant. Some of the older buildings have not very good illumination on the desktop. And it brought back to memory my experiences in Chicago, where we went into schools and we found 5 candle power on a desktop, and all the kids were going like this because they couldn't see anything in the classroom. And it's not as bad here, but it needs to be investigated. What I've done is attach the reports of all of the people who went around. It's like if you have an object and you look at it through a telescope, all of these people, members of the team, were looking at the same objects through their own telescopes. And the fire department saw things that the building department didn't see and vice versa, and I saw things that other people didn't see, but then again, people saw things that I didn't see either. So it's very difficult to go through, as you might imagine, to go through room after room, floor after floor, building after building, and pick up everything. Just don't do it. There's one building, which is the agricultural building, which has no fire alarm system at all. And there's one building which, when we went through it, when we tried out that was the math building, we tried out the fire alarm system. It did not operate at all. I understand that has been fixed in the meantime. I haven't gone and checked it, but I understand it has. And so we've concentrated, you might say, on fire safety, but other safety as well. Are there any questions?
Is this, everything's just all complete?
That is all complete, yes.
Is there nothing wrong at Jonesboro?
No, I haven't. Jonesboro is in the works. It's being word processed.
The inspections are completed.
Not as we speak. The inspections themselves are complete. The report is done.
The Jonesboro building is not in very good shape at all. Matter of fact, it does not have a fire alarm system at all.
That's correct.
In the building, which with that many classrooms is a bad hazard, and then has a lot more electrical and some other issues that
very heavy leakage problems. Certainly some mold and mildew problems, mustiness, dampness, water on the floor coming in through the windows primarily. The fenestration is extremely poor. The water comes in through the windows, in through the roof, is all over the floor. You can see the mold on the floor. It's there. The only thing that can take it away is perhaps scrubbing with Clorox, but that'll last about a month and then it'll come back again. If the leaks aren't fixed.
I guess when I was looking over this report, maybe I didn't understand the scope of this, but when we were hearing from people, last spring we heard about the flooding on the walkways, the heating and the air conditioning in the classrooms, mostly no heat, the mold, and then ceiling tiles that maybe would fall and were considered dangerous. Did you notice anything with the ceiling tiles, or are those buildings that are being...
Yes, we have, are you speaking at Jonesboro now?
No, I'm speaking of...
the high school.
At the high school, there were some ceiling tiles missing. We've noted those. Basically, what they were doing during the summer was installing cables for computer classrooms. And so you could go through 6 classrooms in a row, and there'd be ceiling tiles missing because there were a whole bunch of red wires coming down to be connected to computers. I assume by now they've put the tiles back again. I don't know, I haven't been there since the end of
Because
July.
it's my understanding that if you were sitting in class, there might be a ceiling tile that fall on you. Did I?
Well,
And I will also say that right before we got started, we got several reports from the school board about things that they had already addressed. Some of them was the mold, the roof leaks, and some of the tile things. So I did not go through the inspections. I let the team do their work. But from what I understand from talking with a couple of the folks, a lot of those things the school board had already been in there and started their summer cleanup and summer work and had already repaired some of those items. So I think that's another concern, was that maybe some things weren't being repaired or fixed. But I think in this process we did see that Mr. Pittman and his staff were working to bring the school, the rooms that they were going to be using in condition. Another thing is that the science building is down. The temporary units, mobile units are in place. So some of those issues were taken away when the science building went down.
wasn't this supposed to be health and safety?
Well, it is both. From the health issues is you go in and you're taking a look at the conditions in each room and trying to make a determination of what they can see. We weren't going to hire anybody to go do mold testing and whether there were mold spores in the air or anything unless there was evidence of mold. There was, from what the inspector said, we had an environmental health specialist looking through it too. There was no evidence. Now, there were some issues where, if there were some issues where folks might have some health issues, breathing issues in a room, it's not necessarily mold. It could be dust from some of the units that's spraying dusty air around the buildings. And in the recommendation, those units need to be vacuumed and cleaned. So, I am one that is somewhat allergic to dust, and in a dusty environment, I'll have allergic reactions to it. So, some people may think it might be mold, it might be something else. So, we weren't in there taking air samples because we had no evidence to take air samples except for the testimony that people had up against this mic. And in a couple of the reports that the school board sent us, they had already done the testing. Like I said, they had taken some of the issues and already had addressed it themselves.
Some of the, I think, bad conditions with respect to air may be due to the fact that filters haven't been changed enough on various machines. In some cases, when you have like what's known as fin tube radiation, which runs around the outside of a room, usually under a window, it's a pipe with hot water running through it with fins on it, and the fins radiate heat. Well, most of that heat then rises due to convection, the natural tendency of heat to rise. And over the years, and it's a perfect example is Jonesboro. What happens at Jonesboro is they probably haven't been cleaned since the 1950s, and the fins are clogged with dust. And so what has to happen is somebody has to take a considerable amount of time taking off the covers, taking a vacuum cleaner and cleaning the fin tube from one end to the other and putting the covers back. But they got to do it every couple of years. They just can't let it go for another 20 years.
And it's my understanding there's a preventative maintenance program in place where filters and these things are changed every 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, that may be so. I don't know that. I'm only saying that I think some of this can be due to the fact that perhaps filters weren't changed. It's something like this, okay? We have fire extinguishers around, and somebody comes around the school every so often and recharges the fire extinguishers and puts a tag on them. But they forget that there's one up in the elevator machine room in the administration building, so they forget all about that. And they don't go up there for 3 or 4 years.
So that happened?
So that could happen. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. The preventative maintenance may be there. It's like if you say to the fella, there's an exit sign there and there's no light behind the exit sign. Well, it blew out last night. You don't really know that. And sure, if you have a very conservative periodic maintenance program where somebody actually goes around and looks specifically at a particular item or goes specifically to a machine and changes the filter every 3 months, every 2 months, every week, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But if something else interferes with what he's doing and he doesn't get back to it, then maybe it goes 6 months or a year. You never know. All you can do is to try to enforce that kind of a program as much as possible. Anything else?
Anyone have any other questions?
I guess in summary, of the 2 facilities you've looked at, the Jonesboro Center requires the most immediate attention, in your opinion, or are they equal? Or how do you
Well,
see it?
I'm in the middle of writing a report. And it's not that I'm evading your question, I'm not.
I understand that.
What I'm about to recommend really is that the college move out of that building and move into temporary double-wide classrooms, either on the property that they just bought off of Kelly Drive or on that property as well. If they stay on that property, they can use the water services and everything else that's there. If they move over to Kelly, they're going to have to put in new water services and grading and parking lots and this and that and the other.
Are you going to make a recommendation for this?
Yes.
Lee Senior?
The conditions for Lee Senior are here. The severity of them is certainly not sufficient for me to say, okay, move out of Lee Senior and go someplace else.
Right.
So I'm recommending piecemeal situations here that allows the school to be safe, and the children and the staff to be safe.
To be safe and functional at the same time.
And functional, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Is any of this new to anybody? New to me? Based on what I was hearing? This is all stuff we've heard or seen before, though.
Well, that's what's there. That's what I was asked to do, tell you what was there.
As a commissioner or as a school board member?
Yeah, either one. I was on the school board, now I'm on the commissioners. I mean, this is stuff that's been told to us.
Why didn't it fix it?
What is not fixed?
I don't know.
Everything is to code the way it was built.
No.
When it was built,
I'm
yes.
asking when it was built. If you get, now, am I incorrect if I understand, if we get into a lot of code renovations, if it hits certain things, we may have to go back and fix everything. These are grandfathered in, so we could be getting into a lot more cost than we're prepared to pay. Is that incorrect?
I don't think
it's gonna raise to that kind of a level.
What is your estimation
In terms of dollars?
then? Yeah.
Haven't really considered it before, but I would say
Then
less
you
than.
can't say it's
Less
not
than $1
gonna be
million.
that. That's a lot of money.
Less
To
than
me,
$1
it
million.
is. To this county, it is.
Well, we know that. That's why we had this done. I'm trying to figure out where we are.
And at the point where we're not trying to step on the school board's toes either, Mr. Quibble. I mean, we've had, what we were charged with was going in, inspecting the facility and making sure it was safe to attend come fall. We are making the determination that it is safe to attend this fall. Based on the comments that were here, that the people paraded up here to the mic said, there were conditions that existed at the building that, it sounded like the building should have been shut down.
Admittedly, he has not gone back to check these conditions as well. He
That is
doesn't know
not
the
true.
ceiling tiles have been replaced, does he?
When walked around the school building with school staff, he pointed these things out to them, and they would say, that is on our list to repair. Now, if you would like for us to go back through and make sure that everything they told us they were going to
Do you think that's
repair.
necessary?
No, sir, I don't. I think we should take them at their word that they did it.
I don't think any of this was necessary, to be honest with you. We knew it all.
Well, you know it all. I didn't know any of this.
Did you listen?
I always listen. That's why I don't vote the way you vote.
Okay. So I'm always wrong.
You asked for that.
This is, I think we wasted $2,000 a week for this.
Well, you would think we wasted anyway because it doesn't deal
Because it repeats information that we've got.
Tell me why you didn't deal with it on the school board then.
Because you gave us the money to do it. We didn't get the money to deal with it.
You always get the money.
Why did we not get the money to do some other work at that high school then?
Tell me what you've done with it.
What has this done to address the facility needs out there,
It assured
the
me,
educational needs, or the security needs?
it assured me that
You're talking about different issues now. You're talking about educational.
These are the issues that the school board
Hold on.
brought before us
Hold on. Well, these are different issues.
that have been discussed
Right.
before.
And so now you want to get into discussion of the Jimmy Height plan? Is that where we're headed?
I
with?
have not mentioned a single plan. Two architecture
but
firms
Jimmy-
have said it though.
Well, when a good architect comes in and meets with me, I tell him what I want.
So
And
Jimmy
I
was not a
deliver
good
what he
architect?
wants. No, Jimmy Height's one of the best architects in the state. And if an owner tells him what he wants, that's what you're going to get. Now, in that plan, there's more than just going in and renovating a building.
It addresses
That's right.
everything that needs to be done. And who's to
In
say
the-
on this board what a school needs? None of us
Nobody
are
is.
school people.
I think
Hold on.
this board is
We
sitting.
just
I
need
think
the educational
I think this is. I think we're getting ready to get
addressing
into.
the concerns that came.
Let me hear him, and then I'll listen.
Okay.
I think at this point, you have to tell the citizens of this county what is being addressed in that plan. And all we're being told right now, anytime we discuss the plan, is here's our plan, fund it or don't fund it.
Have you asked what has been addressed in the plan?
I asked the school superintendent, yes, I did.
What did he tell you?
I have a list of items that
What were
address
they?
from educational needs
And what else?
and addresses safety, other issues as far as campus security.
Have you let anybody know this?
I have the email, I furnished the email.
Have you spread the word?
No, sir. I don't think it's my job to spread the word. I think it's the school boards.
Have they not done that?
Not to this board, no, sir, they have not.
What is your opposition to this?
I told you, I think we wasted our money.
Well, what would you have done?
I wouldn't have done any of this.
That's what we
had it.
You've proven that.
We've had it. We just chose not to listen. Now, I'm
If you
sorry.
had it, why, I mean, why wasn't it
He
done?
likes to hear himself talk. That is
Well,
nothing.
there's a superintendent, acting superintendent. Let's ask him. Was any of this done, to your knowledge?
Well, first of all, I am the acting superintendent. So let me make sure y'all all understand that.
Yes.
I've been doing this about 5 weeks now.
Yeah.
And
Qualified.
I did go over with Mr. Martin on 2 occasions and walked around for a period of time. Most of the things that I have seen, I think we already had. But again, I wasn't here at the beginning of this. I don't know what the mission was or any of that. So I you know, but
The description we got from most people coming before us was how bad of condition the school was in. Our concern was if it's that bad, then let's take a serious look at what can
That
be
was
done
the
and what
whole
should be
premise.
done.
Does anybody in here not think that a building a minimum of 30 years old would not be up currently?
I'd expect the fire system.
There are things
Do you
within
think
the.
that some fire systems don't work?
Well, he said that the one in the map
Do
didn't
they work? Was it working? Is it working now?
We did a full-scale, every building test. We pulled every fire alarm. We looked at every strobe. You know what a strobe is?
Yeah,
The
it
flash
blinks
alarm?
real
Okay,
fast, right?
Okay, and we listened to every horn, and if it wasn't working, we put it down.
Now,
It needs to be replaced.
Does the fire department come out and inspect these on a monthly basis?
No,
No, never. They never come out and
they
do
come
that?
out twice a year.
Twice a year. So
Yeah, but they don't
And-
conduct the fire alarm test. You know,
No, they don't
what they're
con-
saying is, what they ask for is, did you do a test? And then they provide the documentation that they provided the test. But, you know, there were security doors that didn't work in the fire alarm that are supposed to automatically close. They did not close. We brought the group that was out there brought that to the attention of the staff at the school, that these things needed to be repaired and fixed.
And what building doesn't even have a fire alarm system?
That's the agriculture building.
The ag building doesn't even have one.
Yeah.
And this one that.
So, I mean, if nothing else comes out of this, I think there's,
So we're gonna pay to put a fire system in the ag building now?
if there are kids in there, I would.
We got a lot.
Well, there was, when
I
we
think in
first
the
went
report,
around and we went to the agricultural building,
Why was there never one put in it?
I have no idea. I spoke to Greg, and he told me that he expected that the agricultural program was coming back from Lee South.
Oh, so there was no kids in it?
There were certainly no kids in it during the summer, but he expected that children would be in it when school started. Okay? He also thought that the construction technology department was coming back to the new shops building, I believe it is. And so those were 2 programs that would be coming back. The one particularly in the ag building would need something more because the ag building had become a place where, pardon the expression, all the junk went. Okay? Now, since that time, a lot of the junk has been removed.
What was the junk in there for?
I don't know, old tractors, tools, broken shop tables, you name it.
But no kids were in there.
Well, it was in the summertime, so certainly no kids were in there.
But they couldn't have stored it there for the summertime?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea.
That wasn't his job.
I have no idea. Then I spoke to Gary back here, and he said to me, no, those 2 programs were not coming back. But he must have said something to the people of the ag building, because I saw a lot of people walking out of there with black plastic bags full of whatever it was full of. So they were cleaning it out, and it definitely needed to be cleaned out. So, but if there's nothing back there at all, and there's combustible materials around, you know, you have parts of even the most modern buildings, 1982 or whatever it was, on that campus that have cardboard boxes stored in them, that have partitions made out of plywood paneling. That's no good in a fire-protected building. That shouldn't be there, and that's listed in here as well. Did you ever hear of that? You did, okay. Well, good.
Without the money to fix it, or if you're gonna go back and redo something over there, it's a complete waste of money.
Let me
I
ask
don't-
you
I
this.
think what the-
Let me
I
ask
think-
you a question. Did you say you knew all this before? No, I didn't say before. I said I knew it, and I found out today about this stuff. I'm confused. You knew about what before? All these problems?
I went through and asked folks about these problems that were listed in here. Along.
Did you ever hear of them while you were on the school board?
I can't say that I did.
Okay. Do you have any record of where you all address any of these concerns on the school board?
Which concerns? As far as integrating all the
What
fire
you have
systems?
in front of you.
Integrating all the fire systems, I don't think the school board had that kind of money to
How
do
about
it.
any of them? Did you address
Sure,
it?
there's a preventative maintenance program in place.
Yeah, we know that. Did you address any of the concerns?
How do you address a concern in a preventative maintenance program?
Obviously, you don't know how.
You get your maintenance people to fix it.
Okay, this is going a little bit too far, I think.
Far enough.
Well, might not be, but,
I'd like to make a comment because I think this kind of falls in. I would like to see this board, you know, with the Board of Education, maybe start to work together to come up with that purpose and function budget, you know, because when you look at some of these maintenance things, that's been my concern all along. And you know, when you're giving $15 million, and that doesn't include the payments you're making on the buildings, I think the taxpayers of Lee County deserve to know how their education tax dollars are being spent. And if I were on the Board of Education, I'd want the taxpayers to know.
But you're not on the board.
When you were on there, wouldn't
Yes,
you want
I
the
did.
taxpayers to know what's
Yes.
going for maintenance, what's going for
Yes, I
administration?
did, and it was laid out there. It was not a line item or purpose and function like you asked for, but you give them a group of money. I
All
don't know
is
the best way.
All I know,
to-
John, is the 2 years I've been on here trying to figure out that school budget until John came up with that neat little way this year, and that was a way to look and see things. And I think even if I'd been a school board member, you know, I wouldn't have been able to understand the budget there, but presented it another way, you're able to see some trends and some things. So I would like to see does anybody else have an interest in going down that road?
and I think that was discussed at a previous meeting, about us looking at it, within the next year or so about doing the purpose and function.
Well,
And I
it needs
think-
to be a two-way street with us and the Board of Education and, you know,
On this particular report, we have furnished a copy to Mr. Jackson, and he can furnish it to the Board of Education. If the Board of Education wants to fix these items and they don't have the money, I have told Mr. Jackson that the next thing that needs to happen is the Board of Education needs to come back here and ask us for those funds, and we sit down and talk to them about how to fix these problems. These buildings are under their control. They're responsible for them. The purpose of this report was to give some assurance to the board of it, to our board, that, you know, since we have a joint liability with them, since we're responsible for the buildings 50-50 with them, that the buildings were safe to attend. That was the purpose.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
There's an item in there that relates to a stairwell behind the math building. And the nosings are stripped off of 50% of the stairs. Now, somebody comes along a day, let's say next Tuesday, and falls down the stairs and breaks his or her leg and gets an attorney, I would seriously hold on to your wallets, put it that way. Because particularly if he's a real sharp guy out of somewhere, he'll come out here and tear us apart legally and financially.
We'll tell him that maybe if he's a smoker, that possibly in our courtroom, he would be able to be the only country in the world that, or county in the world that he might be able to smoke it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
All right, Mr. Lyon, we skipped an item that I added, which was, I need to hand these out to the board. But in my dual function as interim health director, I need to bring up an item that came up at the last meeting.
Shut.
Well, I'm about to. That's probably not the kind of shot you want. We have a real problem right now with staffing in the environmental health department. We are down to 2 certified inspectors, and we're supposed to have 6. We have 4 people currently employed. 2, therefore, are interns. The 2 openings we have right now, we have not been able to attract fully certified folks as it is. So, and it really has to do with pay. We cannot attract fully certified folks at our current pay scale. If we have to hire 2 additional interns, we could be using part-time workers for the next 2 years. And we're going to be right back in this situation the county was back in a couple years ago, where the part-time folks were doing all the after-hour work and the weekend work, which upset all the folks in the restaurant business and nursing home business and well inspections and the septic tanks. I don't think people really take too kindly to the evening and weekend deals. Plus, it's a lot of money.
I remember having a conversation with Mr. Haynes on this about how to keep these people here, and obviously he didn't do a very good job of keeping the people that he trained because they just left them up in the county.
That is true. I think
When is the new guy coming?
he comes next Monday, and I'm taking care of this issue for him because I think it's that important. We're pretty much in dire straits in the department, and the only way to attract the fully certified folks is to take the environmental health specialist from a current grade 68 to a new grade of 71, and then take because of the requirement in the state policy, we have to take the environmental health supervisor up 3 steps as well to make sure there's that separation.
Move to approve.
Have a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, okay. I forgot. Floor is open for discussion.
Where we gonna get the money?
It'll have to come from our fund balance right now. They have a pretty tight budget. They're already working through some other issues in the department in animal control, and taking some money and moving animal control money around to try to address some problems there. So this problem, talking with Mr. Surface and the board, we pretty much need to help them out here, and we'll end up saving money because they would have been to us come January asking us to pay their part-time salaries and all this stuff, and we just need to go ahead and bite the bullet and do this right up front.
Restaurant inspections, what else?
They do the well permits, septic tank permits. They also inspect nursing homes, schools, daycares. So, and we're down to 2 that can do it.
And you first must take care of the people you have here now, or you'll have a greater problem down the road.
We tried to address the folks that came off of training and became fully certified and give them a pretty decent bump. And then we had that in the budget, and even after that, they were still, $3,000 to $4,000 a year low. So the last lady we trained, right before she got ready to get her certifications, Wake County hired her.
We lost.
We trained her for 2 years.
Our 2 people, we've got 2 inspectors that live in Lee County and work in Moore County because Moore County hired them away from us. So we need to stop that.
We don't need to be a training ground for another county to hire employees right out from under us.
Well, the amount of time and cost that it costs the county for anybody to train an employee to get them up to speed is 90. That's just a big chunk of your employment costs up front, and then to lose them is just.
They did a study that over the 2-year period, it could upwards of $70,000 to train. Training costs, travel costs, education, what you have to do to get someone certified within 2 years.
Motion on the floor?
It includes the budget impact as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Have a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Carried. Ms. Lee.
Mr. Lamont, I'm going to hand down, we didn't get into this while we were talking about the courthouse, but this is the floor plan for that section of the courthouse that is under discussion, and some of the items that we were looking at trying to create space for the DA. And it's hard, unless you've been up there and taken a look at it, it's really hard to get a good feel and understanding. But basically, if you're looking at the plan like this corner up here is what we're talking about right now. That is the attorney's lounge with the 2 bathrooms, and then the library's right here. So that's the section we're talking about, right there. And we'll go visit. Can you meet us there at 6:30? Yes, sir. We'll have Mr. Spivey outside the new courthouse front door at 6:30 for those that want to go up there and walk around.
Okay.
That's 35 minutes away.
It's been a long meeting.
We're just about done.
That's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner comments. Mr. Pascal. Ms. Shook.
I had some, but after today, I think I forgot them. I'll find my notes and bring them up next time.
All right. Mr. Quigley. I do want to say, in my comments, I certainly appreciate everything that the volunteer fire departments did for Moore County, our neighbor, down in Robbins, with that huge plant fire they had down there. It's the old plants, the old Milliken Company. But we had about 5 stations providing water service for all the fire departments out of Moore County and Chatham County, and I think Richmond was in there. But that was a huge 5-alarm fire. And also to thank Lisa and her entire staff for the work that they did on the acquiring that certificate.
Thank you.
That is huge.
It's the 12th year.
Okay, I knew of 11.
Not counting.
Since you asked, I thought I'd clarify that.
And also, I looked at in the back of the agenda package and went through that. And I wanted to thank Alicia Adams for the work that she's done in DSS so far as the over $1,030,000 worth of child support she's helped bring into this county. I think that says large numbers as well. Mr. Kelly.
No, sir.
Mr. Reeves. All right. I've got 2 right now. Can you lead the public hearing?
Yeah, if you need.
Well, 1, 2, 3. Robert, could you make that, or either one of you ahead?
Can.
How do you know I can't, Robert?
I know, because I just said they can. When you do it now, it's up to you.
Mr. Reeves, any comments?
Yeah, I want to ask, if we're going to have to deal with the DA's space problem, how quickly we have to move on that?
She actually wanted it completed today.
We
Her
got
new
that
attorney starts today, but her department won't approve the plan, and we actually got ready to start creating some office space for them anyway, and they told us to stop, so we stopped.
You said they won't approve the plan?
Right, they don't want us to do
This
that.
plan?
Yeah, they don't want us to do that plan, because they wanted the entire break room. They wanted all that down there, and that's what the attorneys are upset about, because, the break room goes away, and there's only one, this office right here next to Judge Love is really the only room that we could take and make anything out of. But then we got the smokers next to Judge Love. I don't know that he'd appreciate that. So we don't really have a lot of options upstairs. The holding cells are used.
You talking about the prisoners?
Yeah, they come up the elevator there and they stick them in those cells right there while they're waiting for trial.
How many cells we got?
2. There's one there, one there.
Can't you put them in the same one?
And this is the elevator that comes up.
About the smokers or?
Ventilator that way. All right, let's try that. Take one of those open cells. All right, thank you.
Anything
They're all
else?
monetary.
All right. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
No, I'm gonna recess this meeting until 7 o'clock at the courthouse, 6:30 if you plan to go and go over this, take this tour with Russell.
6:30 if you plan to smoke.
Do that on the way down there.
They can smoke and get